Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag The mission of the City School District of Albany is to educate and prepare all students for college, career, citizenship, and life in partnership with our diverse community. We'll begin this evening with the superintendent's report. Dr. Wilkins.
Good evening. Thanks to the generosity of our community partners, we have launched our expanded weekend backpack food program this year. Each Friday, the backpack program will send home healthy food to children who are food insecure, meaning they do not have regular access to food at home. Hungry children get sick more often, which causes them to miss more school and fall behind in their learning. Our school breakfast and lunch programs fill a big void when school's in session, but not on the weekends. Our partners at the Homeless and Travelers Aid Society, Regional Food Bank of Northeastern New York, the Albany Fund for Education, the Junior League of Albany, and others have stepped up to fill this void. Through their efforts, 455 students at all 15 elementary and middle schools will go home for the weekend with backpacks full of food. It costs $239 to provide this critical support for one child for an entire school year. Our partners have already raised more than $90,000 to support the program, and contributions of any size are always welcome as we look to expand this program for the years to come. Please visit our website, albanyschools.org, for links for information about how to make a contribution. Once again, my sincere thanks to the community partners who have come forward to support our students and families in this very meaningful way. Speaking of the Albany Fund for Education, the 19th annual AFE Gala is coming up on Tuesday, November 1st. The gala will be held at the new Renaissance Albany Hotel. It is a very nice, wonderful event every year, and is so important in helping to support the programs that the AFE is able to fund in our schools each year. That includes the weekend backpack food program, which is among the feature programs at the gala this year. You can find more information about the gala on AFE's website, thealbanyfundforeducation.org. We are getting to that time of year when we start to plan for our budget priorities for the next school year. I had the opportunity last week to participate in an important event that was part of a focus in that area. The Alliance for Quality Education held a rally in Albany to advocate for full funding of foundation aid for all public schools in the state. The state has not lived up to its fiscal obligations to the schools based on the outcome of the legal settlement over 10 years ago. Our district has missed out on more than $300 million in foundation aid over that time, and we are calling on our state leaders to make good on their financial obligations to our students and our families. Advocating for full foundation aid will be among the top legislative priorities for our government relations committees this winter and spring. We also will be advocating for funding to support and expand our English as a new language and our pre-kindergarten programs. We will keep you updated on those activities as we move forward. And for my last item tonight, I want to invite everyone to join us at Albany High on Tuesday morning for a groundbreaking ceremony to celebrate the start of the renovation project on our pool. As you know, Albany High Pool has been out of service since March 2015, when a large section of the exterior wall collapsed during a period of extreme cold weather. Albany High swim teams have been without a home since then, and we also have suspended our second grade Learn to Swim program. Pool renovations are being completed with no impact on taxes as part of the district-wide facilities referendum vote approved in May 2015. The pool is scheduled to be completed in April, which will allow our swim teams and our Learn to Swim program to return home beginning next school year. Tuesday's event will also give us an opportunity to highlight the Albany High roof project that was completed ahead of schedule this summer, and to provide an update on our planning for the major Albany High expansion and renovation project. You'll hear more about the planning later on tonight as well. Please join us at Albany High on Tuesday morning as we mark these achievements. At this time, I have the honor to welcome the principal of Arbor Hill Elementary School and that is the wonderful, the fantastic Rosalind Gaines Harrell.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry. I do have a copy of the PowerPoint that you can look at later, but I'm just going to be very brief about what we're doing here at Arbor Hill. Our mission and our vision is the first thing on the slide, but I just wanted to make mention of the mission and vision that the kids in our building are able to recite the mission and vision. It is a part of our pledge. So I'm very happy with that. We've been working on that for about 2 years. And all the kids, even the babies, can say the mission and vision. Our demographics. A couple things I want to highlight about our demographics at Arbor Hill is as our numbers continue to grow, we are seeing a rise in our Latino population. And we also have 24 newcomers with, all refugees, which is exciting, and more on the way, which has brought a great dynamic to the building. Some of it is challenging because of their needs, but it absolutely brings a lot more diversity to the school. In addition to that, in the staff area, the addition to the kindergarten getting more support, the reading and math coach, we definitely feel the difference with those additions in the building. This is a lot listed here, so what I will say, a couple things to highlight about our tenant work. Many things that are listed here are things that are going on in all buildings, but I like to, for practices and decisions in Tenet 2, we do have teachers who, aside from the traditional BLT, PBIS, they actually do go into each other's classrooms to visit, to look at the curriculum. For Tenet, watch each other's practice. For Tenet 3, aside from the wonders and new programs that we have in here, the STEM, I'm excited to have the STEM program now extending. It was, for the past couple years, it was just K2, and that was missing a continuous loop. So now it's K5. The only downfall, as we all know, is the issue with the substitutes. The other highlight for Tenet 3 is the data team training, introducing the staff to Google Docs and how to use Chromebooks. We've been front-loading the staff with that work because of what's coming for our school, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But for Tenet 4 practice, a couple things that I also want to highlight is that, they are working on Teach Like a Champion, which has definitely helped with our discipline, and which is listed in 4 and 5. We are doing that. We're doing Calm Classroom, and we're doing Second Step. One of the things about discipline is that in the month of September, we had 7 referrals total. So that is really, really a great decrease in the amount of discipline problems that occurred. We also added some programming for the families, and the programs are listed there. We're trying to make sure that the programs that we offer to families match what we're doing in the building. So we have mindfulness, which matches Calm Classroom, some nutrition pieces, and the coding is something that's pretty interesting because I know that in other districts they have coding classes, but we also are trying to work with CEFCU to get coding classes actually done in this building to support our parents, as well as all the other things that are listed there. So we are trying to do these programs once a month or every other month to see if we can get some buy-in, but that is one of the things that we're trying to push, the coding, because it does help employment opportunities. Our achievements and celebrations. The technology award that we received was pretty significant from the TUI Foundation. It will allow us to have one-to-one correspondence with computers for grades 3 through 6, which is why the teachers have been front-loaded with learning how to use the technology prior to it arriving. So that's really good news. I already talked about the ENL program. Another thing is the Special Olympics program. Our building took the lead on providing Special Olympics. It actually, the children's ages are younger. You start at 2.5 years of age in preparation for the true Special Olympics of the older children. So our building is the site for that because we also have a large population of special ed students, 3 sections of autism students, and we have collaborated with multiple schools, and the next actual Special Olympics program that we usually have on the lawn, because we have the lawn space, the teachers all had to be trained to participate, and we have over 45 teachers trained across different buildings that come to the program. The other thing is the Shoes That Fit program. That's a program that allows us to get free sneakers for children. We size them up, and it's a grant. We don't have to pay anything for it. We just have to get them sized, and we send it in, and we get to get 50 pairs of sneakers for the kids in the building. We also know that we have the largest number of volunteer support in the district, and some of the people that support us are listed there. They come faithfully. SEFCU is one of our premier supporters because they're always here for something. And we recently completed a commercial for volunteering, although that wasn't the highlight of my career. I did it to support the school. And also, really proud of the work that the teachers are doing with one another, and we also have a couple teachers because we've been trying to grow our own since we know there's a teacher shortage. So we try to bring the area colleges that come in to get their 50 hours, 5 hours, however many hours, so we can sell our program. And because we've been doing that, one of the collaborations we have is a couple of our teachers get to go down to SUNY, I believe. They go to SUNY Albany, and they actually teach a class on PBIS to new teachers, people coming into the field, because it does help break down the stigmatism of urban education when we get them in here, and they often come back and stay for more hours. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines-Farrell. Next up, we have public comment. The Albany Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, students, and other people to our meetings. Community involvement at board meetings is encouraged so that we can better understand your views. Please be aware that by law, individual student information or particular personnel issues cannot be discussed at public sessions of the board. When recognized by the board president, please state your name and city of residence. Statements are restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes, and speakers will be notified by the board president when their time has expired. We take public comment very seriously, and careful notes will be taken. However, the board generally does not respond while the meeting is in public session. First up this evening is Sharon Ross, and after that, Lakeisha Marshall. Sharon Ross? Hi. Right, there's either seat, there's a microphone. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Ross. I'm a father of 4, 3 of which are in this school. I stay on Larkin Clinton here in Albany. I came to pick my kids up. Hi, Ann.
Nice to meet you.
And me and my lady have been having this political discussion about cameras in the classroom. How I come to want cameras in the classroom because I would like to have it. I've got a teenager who was in middle school, got retained twice, and he would come home with stories about his teacher. When we talk to the teacher would have stories about him. So it was kind of difficult to have Nura, that was his name, my son, it was difficult to tell Nurad that what he was seeing and what he was going on may not be true or may not be the reason that he got in trouble. And it was also difficult dealing with Mr. L with trying to, be respectful of my son and what he was going through. So I'm here tonight I shot this question to a few people tonight. They kind of say that there's privacy issues, but me personally, I feel like that's something that could be worked around. Our community is full of cameras. There's cameras on the school bus, security cameras at the school. So for there not to be cameras in the classroom, I feel like we can get together and come up with something, understanding privacy issues, especially dealing with kids and how kids' parents feel about their kids being videotaped. So in a nutshell, I would just like to know, who's the superintendent? Oh, that's you. So I guess this question's for you. How do you feel about cameras in the classroom?
So,
Oh, you can't.
Mr. Ross, yeah, we
So,
don't generally
that's
answer
what you
questions, but
Well,
we will consider your question and develop it for a future meeting.
So okay, I understand.
Or you can actually email us directly.
And all right.
Sure.
Okay, well,
yeah.
let me try this.
Okay.
Has it been brought up before in any of you guys' meeting? Can you tell me any details on that?
Wait, what was the question? I'm sorry. The most effective way would probably be if you call and set up a meeting with Dr. Wilkins and her staff, and then they can give you the answers to all your individualized questions. And
So, all right. Cool, thank you.
actually, why don't you give your contact information to the board secretary right there, Paula Tibbetts, in the black at the end of the table?
And all right, that's cool.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, next up, Lakeisha Marshall, and after that, Wallace Attaway.
Hello.
Good evening. Is the mic on? Yes?
Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Lakeisha Marshall, and my daughter is Kashai McQueen, and she's in first grade at Arbor Hill Elementary. And what I like about Arbor Hill is that there's 3 first grade classrooms, and the teacher-child ratio is low, which means my daughter doesn't have to fight for the teacher attention. She gets individual time, there's group time. And to combine the classrooms, my question is, what's going to be the support for the teacher? Right now, there's children who are labeled, but what about the children who are not labeled in the classroom that needs more time? And my daughter, because she's what you would consider a typical pear, no behaviors, no issues, end up sitting by herself and not getting the attention from the teacher that she needs. Last year when she was in kindergarten, there were 25 children and 1 teacher. The teacher had a very high needs classroom, to the point where I went to go visit the classroom, and my daughter sitting down reading a book, and so much chaos was going on around her that I feel if there was more help in the classroom, she did very well at the school, but the support for the teacher was limited. And when you have that many kids in there, she didn't lack, but I believe there's so much more that could have been done last year. So this year, she's in Ms. McCarthy's classroom, 16 children, 1 adult. Every day she comes home about what circle was, what letter on, what they're learning, the different times in north, east, south, west. But I feel if you increase that number, what is the learning environment going to be for her now? If you do decide to increase the number of children in her classroom, can you guarantee me that there's going to be a full-time aide in the classroom with the teacher and for that classroom, not somebody who's going to move to another room because there's a shortage? If you're increasing the kids, what about the needs of my child, who is the typical parent, who will sit down and listen, but because she sits down and listens and can read by herself or do the math by herself. She needs that one-on-one time with the teacher to develop and learn more and have more guidance. She's taking state tests this year. There's so much more going on. You have levels that she's supposed to meet and how it's going to be there. So right now, 16 to 1 is good, but if you're going to put 25 to 1 and not know what behaviors are in the classroom and you're not supporting the teacher, what can you do for me as a parent? Should I keep my daughter in a public school? Should she go to a charter school where there's more support? It's my question for the board.
Okay, thank you. I feel like we're missing a piece of information here. Okay, all right, great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, next up, Wallace Attaway, and after that, Evelyn Feliciano.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My question pretty much is going to piggyback off the last parent. My name is Wallace Attaway. I have a daughter who's 6 years old who attends Arbor Hill. She attended from preschool. Right now, she's currently in first grade. She's currently in Mrs. Kirkner's class as well. The parents' concern with the expansion of the classroom is valid. My concern as well. You know, when you have a child who's in a classroom where the children to teacher base is at a limit where the child can get the necessary help that they would need is important. You know, as a parent, again, my child attended from pre-K, now she's in first. I've seen the development over the 3 years she's attended here at Arbor Hill. The teachers are very much hands-on. They're very informative as to what's going on in the school as well as in the classroom. The classrooms are set up in a manner which the child can develop. If you expand the classroom where there are more kids, there are more attentions and behaviors that have to be addressed, that takes away from each individual child. Not saying each individual child doesn't need this, but as a parent, I want my child to get that and more in which she, you know, can get from a classroom of 16 or 17. If you have a class that's 22, 25, 27, that's more than one person can handle. You know, again, I'm a father of 3. So I'm asking the board to take in consideration, not just myself, as well as the parent who spoke before, the needs of the children when a decision is being thought of and expanding the classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Evelyn Feliciano. Should we just mention that we do have a board policy when students get to 27, that they're, okay, all right, thank you. Right.
Good evening, my name is Evelyn Feliciano, and I have...
Good evening. Can you move closer to the mic?
Sure.
And is your question about the same classroom? Is your statement about the same classroom? Because if you could not say the teacher's name, we would appreciate that.
Not to say the teacher's name?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So we do understand who you're talking about, though. Okay, thank you.
I just want to pick back on what the last 2 parents. It is a concern when the classrooms, and I'm an ex-early childhood educator, so I know how stressful it is to focus on helping one child more than the other, especially when the classroom has over 25 kids, between 20 and 25 kids. But anyway, my granddaughter, it's in first grade. It's amazing everything she has learned so far. since school started. She's been here since kindergarten, and hopefully she'll be here to the last grade. But I know how stressful it is just to focus on one child, and I know as my granddaughter, she knows a lot, but she still needs help with words and even letters and counting from 1 to 110. So my concern is also having too many kids in one classroom with one teacher. That's about it. Like I said, I'm an ex-early childhood educator, so I know how stressful it is. I changed my career after to alcohol and substance abuse counseling, but it was stressful for me to have 25 kids with no teacher assistance in a class with 25 kids, so that is a concern for me as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, thank you. That concludes public comment. Next up, routine consent. Can I get a motion to approve routine consent? Ms. Smith, and a second. Ms. Adler. Any set-asides in routine consent? Ms. Adler.
I'd like to set aside F, which is the Parsons contract, and K and L can be set aside together. They are the 2 field trips, one to Montreal and the other to Salem, Massachusetts, but to Salem, I think, Massachusetts.
Okay, thank you. That's letter F, Parsons Child and Family Center, and letter K and L together, Montreal, Canada, and Salem, Massachusetts. Any other set-asides? Dr. Brandon.
Set aside 5G.
Okay, 5G, that's Questar BOCES? Okay. Is that it, Dr. Brandon? Just that one?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other set-asides? Okay, I would like to set aside 5D DAC Consulting. Okay. No other set-asides. All those in favor of routine consent, excluding letters D, F, G, K, and L. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Adler, let's start with you. Letter F. Can we get a motion to approve Parsons Child and Family Center? Ms. Adler, and a second by Ms. Smith. Discussion.
Thank you. My question about Parsons' contract is that the measurables are only about the trainees and their knowledge, and that the measurables from the vantage point of how it impacts on the interaction with students is actually doesn't appear to be part of the measurable results. Instead, it is solely about whether or not there's been training and whether people feel they've gotten what the training was about from the teaching standpoint. And while I know that's a first step, we have already trained 837, and this contract is for the training of 163 more. So at this point, having already trained that number, I would like to know whether we've moved from they got the information as a measurable result into now they've actually been able to gain something through the implementation and maybe even see data that it is somehow impacting favorably the instructional practices. So I need that to vote on it at this point. Anybody back there in charge of this contract? Anybody know if they're not? Maybe we could get the information and put this off to November 3rd.
It's under Eileen or Miss Loeffler.
I'm sorry, Ms. Adler. So the question is as
you
to
want
why
me-
we're increasing the number of
Oh
trainees?
gosh, no,
Oh.
no. So I
sorry.
will explain to you. And luckily, I learned how to use the notes section of the board docs. I'm able to look at it and understand it. So what I said was that the measurable results for the Parsons contract solely are from the perspective of the trainees, whether they increase their knowledge. And going back to the good old DSIP and on tenets in terms of instructional practices, I thought after having trained 837 already and being now just doing another 163, that I'd like some information on whether we have moved from just them getting the information to it actually impacting their instructional practices with the end game of it actually impacting the students. So even if I can't get data on the students, I'd like at least some data beyond we've trained people. At this point, I know it's not a lot of money, but at this point, there's so much that we pay for instructional practices, and it's all really important, but I'd like to be able to know what's working and what's not, or at least have moved towards that.
I do think that at this point, the measure results are still just around increasing the number of participants who are trained. Just remembering from when this work started, the goal was always to train as many people in youth mental health first aid as possible so that they know what to do when they encounter a student in crisis. So I think the only way we could measure impact differently in terms of implementation is what instances and where people have been able to utilize this training to de-escalate or resolve an issue for a student that typically may have gone to another adult and gone unresolved. So I could talk to, I wouldn't be able to give you that information tonight, and I don't know when they need this approval in order to move forward with their work, but I could discuss with Eileen or with Dr. Gianella, because she's who did it for us at the high school, to see what the intent is.
So I'll vote to approve it based on what you're explaining, and I do know that it was to have people more able to interact with students and be able to know how to de-escalate, but since that's been a big focus of our work in addition to K through 2 this year, it would really be helpful to understand whether this is having any impact at all, even if it's just anecdotal. And I'm not expecting for you to do a lot of work or at some point, but if there's any way for us to have a handle on this, that also helps us, not just in passing, at least for me, but helps to be able to tell people in the community, no, we are doing proactively new work in getting people to be able to deal with social and emotional needs of the students at all points of interaction with them.
Okay, any further discussion on Parsons? Okay, all those in favor of, oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Roach.
I just wanted to know what that number had represented in terms of the 850 that had been trained and the 100 and some that are remaining to be trained. Is this all faculty and staff then, or?
Yeah, yes, it's all faculty and staff. Sorry, it's not my contract, but I'm just speaking because I know a little bit about the program. One of the goals of the program is you have to train 1,000 individuals in our system. And so the goal each year has been to train more and more folks so that they meet the requirements of what they agreed to do when they were trained for free for this programming. So it's 837 staff members.
So is this their initial training, or is it some type of follow-up or refresher training?
That I can't answer.
Okay.
I'd have to do more research.
Initial. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Smith.
I'm sorry, just real quick. And I saw this and had that same question in my mind that Sue asked. And I just want to just suggest that we not get these types of program or contract information without there being a clear understanding of what the benefit is to our kids, to our district, right? So I just wanted to say that more plainly.
So just to clarify, so the the intent is to work through the adults to be able to meet the needs of students. So you're saying without measurable results that talk about what changes for students as a result of this training?
Right.
And so one of the challenges that I think we have with that is the amount of time that it takes to see impact from training to student, and it's something I know that we struggle with. We talked about it at length at the principals meeting today. But it sometimes takes a few years of doing something to actually get good enough to actually see impact of it, and so to promise measurable results in something that you may not see, it seems inauthentic at best. But we have been doing youth mental health first aid for at least 3 years, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And so being able to talk to the people who are doing the training to get a sense of what impact we should be having, I think is a valid next step.
Right, thank you.
Okay, everybody's good on that one? Okay, Parsons Child and Family Center, letter F. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous, thank you. And next up is K&L. We're going to do them together. Montreal, Canada, and Salem, Massachusetts trips. Could I get a motion to approve? Ms. Adler, and a second, Ms. Smith. And discussion, Ms. Adler.
Lori, do I ask you, I'm sorry, do I ask you about it? Who do I ask about the,
High school trips.
somebody? Okay, so I'll just explain what the question I have is. This hasn't come up for a while, but it used to be a source of discussion on the board for years when field trips would come up. And in looking at it, because of the numbers that are, for example, Salem, Mass, I think are 7th and 8th graders, but the number is obviously smaller than the number of 7th and 8th graders there are. So the question really for both, for the Montreal and the Salem trip are, how are we selecting the students? Does anybody know? Because, well, you know what comes after the ellipsis, why I'm asking the question.
I don't know, but I can certainly ask the principal and then get back to you. My hunch is that it's a course-specific field trip.
No, I'm aware that both of
Or
them, well,
French.
one is French and then the other one is a history type. But when I'm looking at it, I'm getting a sense that there might be, certainly for the history one, more students, but I just want to verify it. Maybe it's not, because not maybe with this trip, but over years when we looked at this, there would be a selection process, even if it was de facto, just really unintentional, that had students who might really be able to benefit from going, because otherwise that might not be something that they'd be exposed to, and that was really one of the goals for the public school district.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I'll follow up.
Any further discussion on the field trips? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous, thank you. Next up, Dr. Brandon, Questar 3 BOCES. Can I get a motion to approve the Questar contract? It's a motion by Ms. Smith and a second by Dr. Brandon. Discussion, Dr. Brandon.
Ms. Wilson Turner, could you ask Ms. Sharp DeFries if on the second page of this contract, where it says the number of students/families served, she has determined by individual educational plan, IEP. And I'm well aware of what she means, but she needs an approximate in there. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I asked the exact same question when this contract came up before, and you had to go get the information. So could you just tell her if she could get a mindset, because for $2 million, we need at least an approximate number in there. We know it's servicing the entire special ed populace, but for the contract, she needs an approximate figure in there. And remind her that I asked her the same thing last year, and you had to go get the number. That's all. Thank you very much, dear.
It's
So, Dr. Brandon, just to clarify, you're asking for what information exactly? Student service.
Cicely knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
She knows this
Okay.
is the second year I've had to ask for this.
Yeah, okay. Any further discussion on this particular contract? I agree, Dr. Brandon, it's a large contract without sufficient information. So, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so next up is DAC Consulting. That's mine. I'll make a motion to approve DAC Consulting. Can I get a second? Ms. Smith, discussion. I just wanted to call attention to this contract, which is our MWBE outreach manager, and it's a different name. What? The community advocate manager, and that's the firm that's going to focus on MWBE compliance, participation, outreach, and equal opportunity in our high school project. I just wanted to call attention to this. I don't have any real specific questions. They're expected to start immediately and lining up workforce. Actually, I do have one small question. So it looked like we had the ability to terminate the contract, but they don't. Right. Well, but it's a 7-8 year contract.
Yeah, we actually have it's a standard clause. This is our template in all of our contracts. The district has an exit clause. Typically, we don't have an exit clause for them. If something arose, we could always negotiate.
Right.
Yeah, but typically they, complete the contract.
Okay, thank you. And I did want to also say that they're New York State MWBE certified as well. So any further discussion on DAC? All those in favor of DAC Consulting? Okay, that's unanimous, thank you. Could I make one more comment in routine consent, which is related to the Boys and Girls Club, and just to note that it was a very large contract in routine consent, but it's a very small adjustment to a previously approved contract, and I'm just saying that just to go on the record as saying that, because otherwise a $4 million plus contract, is that what it was?
No, that was a couple of $100,000,
Our $400,000 contract probably shouldn't be in routine consent, so I just wanted to go on the record and say that, 400,000, not 4 million. All right. All right, thank you. So that concludes routine consent. Next up on the agenda is Albany High School new course offerings. Okay, there's a memo there. Can somebody just read that memo or the list as part of the motion?
So we discussed these at a reasonable length 2 weeks ago. For those of you who don't come to board meetings all the time, the way these things generally work is that we talk about a thing in a discussion item, and then we don't vote on it right away so that people who want to attend the board meeting have a chance to reflect on it and provide comment to us. So there probably, I'm guessing, will not be a lot of conversation tonight because we had an extended conversation about this 2 weeks ago. And so the new courses that the staff is proposing to add to Albany High are the following: the Art Portfolio Development, American Themes, Connections, and Perspectives, which is essentially a history course, Digital Film 1 and Digital Film 2, Television Production, World Experiences, which will also have an honors designation, and World Themes, Connections, and Perspectives, which is similar to American Themes, Connections, and Perspectives.
Okay, Ms. Savage is making the motion to approve those courses, and a second by Ms. Smith. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And Ms. Adler's voting over there. Okay, thank you, it's unanimous. Okay, next up is 27 middle school enrollment at 50 North Lark, and there is a resolution. Ms. Savage, you've got it open.
Do you want me to read this into the record?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So this again is something we discussed at great length for the last 2 board meetings, and so now I am making a motion to resolve that the Board of Education of the City School District of Albany will approve the use of 50 North Lark as a location. I'm sorry, let me start again because I misread it. Whereas on August 18th, which is a couple of months ago now, the Board of Education approved the use of 50 North Lark as the location of the interim 3rd middle school, and whereas this interim configuration will create the least disruption on middle level enrollment while the grade configuration committee and ultimately the board plan for the district's long-term middle level enrollment pattern, and whereas it is the recommendation of the interim superintendent of schools in collaboration and consultation with the grade configuration steering committee for enrollment at 50 North Lark in grades 6 through 8, beginning 2017-18 school year, lasting for a 3 to 5 year interim period, it is hereby resolved that the enrollment pattern for the interim period be as follows: Arbor Hill Elementary School, current grades 5 and 6, North Albany Academy, current grades 5 to 7, Schuyler Achievement Academy, current grade 5, Sheridan Preparatory Academy, current grade 5, and West Hill Middle School, current grade 7.
Thank you, Ms. Savage. Can I get a second? Okay, second by Ms. Roach. Discussion, Dr. Brandon.
I just want to make sure everybody understands that this is the middle school enrollment for our interim 50 North Lark Street location. I want to make sure everybody understands that this is the enrollment for that building for September of 2017.
Ms. Savage.
I'd like to make a suggestion for a rewording of the resolution. I'm sorry I didn't notice this earlier, but I think where we have the written current grades 5 through 6, current grades 5 through 7, current grade 5, and current grade 5, it should really say beginning with 6th grade, because it's not really about the current 5th graders. This will be the enrollment period, the enrollment plan for the next several years, and some of those children are currently 3rd graders. You know, so I think for the first 4 bullets, it should say entering at 6th grade. And I'm sorry, and then for the last one, I believe we can leave it as it stands, I believe, because that is the last year of our West Hill Middle School students who came to us because Brighter Choice Middle School closed. So I would like to make that amendment to this resolution. And yeah, exactly. Oh, the first 4 bullets will say entering at 6th grade, and the last one will stay as it is.
Okay, so everybody's comfortable with the adjustment? I know there's a more formal way to do that, but all those in favor with the adjusted resolution? And Sue's voting from over there. Okay, it looks like Adler, Smith, Roach, Lang, Bruce, and Savage opposed. And abstentions. Dr. Brandon. Okay, thank you. And it's not on the agenda, but we're going to have a brief discussion on Pine Hills.
I'd like to make a second motion that for the 2017 school year, the Pine Hills Elementary School will enter Myers Middle School at grade 6 rather than grade 7 as it does now.
Okay, motion by Ms. Savage, second by Ms. Smith. Is there any discussion around this? This was also discussed at the last meeting, but is not part of the 50 North Lark resolution. Okay, with no discussion, all those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, next up, item number 8, Facilities High School Renovation Project. Mr. Hogan and Mr.
Yes.
Peckham.
Yes, we'll bring up Rich Peckham and Tina Mercedes-Ciaz from the CS Arch Architectural Firm. And boy, this is really echoing. And they will give us an update on the high school activities. For the It's essentially the planning of the $179.9 million high school project.
Good now? Okay, there we go. Thank you. Well, tonight, this evening, we wanted to give you an update on the actual plans of the high school and the resolution of some of the programming information and more detailed information that we gathered from the staff back in the late spring and been working through that since then. And tonight, Tina's going to walk you through, remind you of some of those changes that we talked about at a previous board meeting, and then show you how the plans have been manifested with those changes. And these plans have been reviewed with the school improvement team at the high school, and they've seen them previously. Oh yes, and the facilities committee's also seen them.
And that's the committee.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me make sure this is on. Okay. So as Rich mentioned, the last time we were here, we talked about the process that we went through with administration and faculty and the programming meetings and the recommendations that came out of that. Tonight we're going to talk about how those recommendations are being implemented into the plan and how the plan has progressed from that. So just as a small reminder, I'm going to just briefly go over the main points that really affected the plan, and so those are the 5 equally sized learning communities, so just keep that in mind. Guidance and student support suites decentralized and incorporated into each academy. 3 health suites distributed throughout the high school. That's 1 for PE and then 2 others. 3 additional special needs classrooms. We incorporated a small theater and performance space to seat approximately 150. Into the high school. We have some additional art spaces, including a 3D art, a new media art lab, and a TV production and equipment room. And one of the other things that has changed is that the media center is now situated along Washington Avenue and includes an additional computer classroom and some small group spaces. Career and technology, the pathways that will be include early childhood, cosmetology, health services, construction technology, auto mechanics, culinary, and some STEM-based classrooms for nanotechnology. Cisco and Project Lead the Way. So I just want to briefly provide an overview of the building so that we're kind of all on the same page about how I'm referring to the floors and to the areas. So we're going to talk about the building as 3 different floors. The ground floor, which is essentially the floor that's accessible from your main parking lot off of North Main. The first floor, which is accessible from Washington Avenue, your main entrance, which is the floor where your auditorium is and your existing gym. And then the second floor is essentially the most upper floor of the existing classroom building. So just to talk about entrances prior to getting into the plan, there's essentially 3 main entrances to the building. 2 of them are at the ground floor, so off of the main parking where buses pull in. That would be a student entrance. There's also an entrance off of the back of this portion of the building as well, for, again, for students and for parent drop-off. And then the 3rd entrance is the main entrance off of Washington Avenue. And that entrance would include a student entrance and then the main visitor entrance. Okay. On the right-hand side of the slide, you see these, the colors that are really representing portions of the building. So we're breaking it down into the small learning communities, CTE spaces, the media center and auditorium, and a number of other spaces, including phys ed and athletics, art and music, special needs, exploratories, the kitchen, cafeteria, and faculty administration. And then the gray areas are really utility spaces, mechanical spaces, storage spaces, and such. So right now, we're looking at the ground floor plan. As I mentioned before, there's two main entrances, one off of the main parking and one off of what will be an access point from the back as well. This bar is the existing classroom building where your cafeteria currently is. The cafeteria is still situated in a similar location with dining off of that main space. The blue spaces are all of the CTE spaces that now kind of surround the space and are dispersed on the ground floor. The pink space at the top are all the special education spaces. Much of that has not changed, so those are all very similar. I think one of the small changes is that these spaces got pulled from this area further into the building, and one of the reasons was that those become more accessible by vehicular cars and for loading and unloading for automotive and for for building trades. The center of the building, which we're calling the core, is really the dining and cafeteria area that sort of makes this connection to all the athletics and to the building trades, to culinary, and to the serving and kitchen. The back of the building is where the 3-classroom addition is being built. So that addition is 3 stories with 3 academies. This addition has grown a little bit, so there's actually additional classrooms at the back. And this building actually, we removed an addition off of this building to sort of make up the difference between needing extra classrooms in these learning communities and taking some out of the communities that are up on above this floor. So you'll see at the back, this is the 3-story building. It stacks. Every floor is the same. There's a main administrative component, which is essentially administration for that academy. And then a series of classrooms, which include science classrooms, in this case 2 additional computer classrooms, and then a series of general classrooms, so math, ESL, ELA, social studies, and such. So the light green that you're seeing in the center are your locker rooms, the existing locker rooms, and then a series of additional spaces. There's a new wrestling room in this location, a fitness room and weight room right in these locations, with some amenities on the outside, which include just toilet rooms and the school store, a school cafe. So all of those spaces are off of the main dining area. The first floor, which is, again, accessible from Washington Avenue, is where the main entrance is located. So this block right here is essentially your high school principal and the staff that supports her. There's a secure entrance vestibule where students come in. In this location, once 8 o'clock comes around and the doors are locked, everyone else enters in from a small vestibule, which then, if you're let through, then you go around into the school or you go directly into the main office. The main entrances are surrounded by the auditorium, the existing auditorium, and the media center, which is now up at the front of the building. We've also provided a secondary entrance that allows the media center to be accessed after hours while closing off the rest of the school. So one of the other things I think that has changed since we've spoken is that the learning communities now that are in the existing classroom building, there's 1 per floor. So previously they were stacked, and now each learning community is on a single floor. So we have 2 learning communities on floors, one on floor 1 and one above on the most upper floor. So the classrooms essentially line the perimeter of the building, trying to maximize the amount of daylight, and the interior of the space is composed of the administration for those 2 academies. So again, this building stacks. All the classrooms are right on top of each other, with administration doing the same. These 2 box spaces that you see here are the double height spaces for the spaces below for CTE and for automotive. So from the main entrance, you can go down a main set of stairs to get to the dining below, or you can cross over to the academy, or you can come down the corridor to reach the second academy at the addition. Again, you can come down through the corridor to reach the gymnasiums, which are existing spaces. This block is the PERC office as well as the main security suite. There's a series of spaces here which include bathrooms, one of the main nurses' offices, as well as cosmetology and a classroom to support that. So another change was cosmetology is now situated near the auditorium to help support the shows that are produced and shown there. This is the, in this vicinity here, this is the music and band area. So this is an addition that includes 2 big spaces for band and orchestra, and then a chorus space, as well as a few additional spaces, the MIDI lab and the recording studio. That is essentially the first floor. So the floor above now, you can see the back academy stacks. This is the 3rd academy. This is, again, another academy above here, stacks as well. And the front of this building is a combination of an open space, which is a double height space for the library below, and then it's surrounded by foreign language classrooms as well as a distance learning lab and some additional program spaces, the UN room, for example, and early childhood development. The existing auditorium, as you know, we're putting a balcony on there to increase the capacity. Off of that, we have a series of spaces to support that. The theater is right over here in this location, so the theater has access to the dance studio as well as to the auditorium and to 2 of the spaces in this location, which are both media labs and the TV video production space. There's also a small gallery outside of the balcony, as well as a conference room and another distance learning lab. The art wing is a combination of studio art classrooms, 3D art classrooms, and some smaller breakout art spaces. And again, there's some core spaces that are in the inside of this that include utility spaces, bathrooms, and again, just the spaces we need to support the students and the staff. The yellow spaces, these sort of boxes that you see all around, those are all the stair towers. Essentially, they support all the stair towers. Those are, there are requirements that they need to be in certain locations, and so we've accommodated all of those. And the green that you're seeing around here is the walking track that's above the gym, and again, that has access to the dance studio. And I think that's essentially where the plan is right now.
Okay, do you want to start with questions? Ms. Smith is good. Ms. Lang, why don't we let the non-facility committee members go first?
I just wanted to say that we got this presentation to the Facilities Committee a couple of weeks ago and already had some discussions there and had some questions answered. That in general, we think that this is really some good improvements and moving in the right direction.
Okay, so we're in agreement.
And I agree with Ellen. I mean, I looked at this, I also had conversations, and I had a couple questions that were able to ask of me.
Ms. Savage.
I always have questions, I never go by with a question. First of all, I want to compliment you on the change of design, pulling the bays to the front of the building to allow the single floor per Learning Academy, very bright and awesome. And it's lovely that it also makes it easier for the cars to get in there, but I like it because it allows a single floor for each learning community, so that's great. I would like to get a little more insight into your discussions with our staff, and in particular, I'm going to ask you the hard question because I know it's the one I'm going to get asked, which is, what did people ask for that you were not able to accommodate in this design?
I think that it's not necessarily anything in particular. I think that the music department had asked for 3 individual spaces, a band room, a chorus room, and an orchestra room, and that was just space we could not accommodate. So we actually combined band and orchestra to support that.
I mean, in some of the discussions with Ms. Ghetto about that and others was that those large rooms are normally only used one period a day for the full use of the room if you had one for every subject. And because part of it was, one of the reasons they wanted the band room so large was right now they have 2 sections of band, and we were told that's because they won't all fit in the room at once. But if they had a room that they'd all fit, they'd prefer to have it all in one period and not have to just combine them together shortly before a concert.
So when I look at the band orchestra room right now, I see a little notch in the bottom. Does that mean a folding wall type thing so that it can be used as 2 smaller rooms and it can be combined into one larger room? You see right about under the 0 and 3090. You might not be able to see that, but I can see it on my screen that the building has a little.
Do you mean right here?
Well,
Oh,
if you look
here.
at the words band orchestra, right underneath that it says 3090, and underneath this second 0 and 3090, there's a little tink. Does
No.
that mean a building that can? Okay, so
No, so that space is intended, at this point at least, for it to be one large space that they can fit both
the
both
full
groups,
wind
the
ensemble.
full ensemble, yes.
You can put the complete wind ensemble, orchestra, and band together in there?
No.
No.
No,
Not
you-
both.
Well, they do
you-
play together sometimes. Yes, they do.
They play together on the stage from what we understand.
Okay. And so right now that space has to be programmed for a single purpose at a time. You wouldn't be able to have a chorus practice and an orchestra practice at the same time because it's one space. Am I understanding that correctly?
The space.
Oh, I'm
next-
sorry, band and orchestra. I see
Correct.
the chorus is separate. I misspoke. Okay. So,
We did review this with them. They're fine with it. They understand that just the quantity of space is.
they're shaking their heads no behind you, so maybe you guys want to talk about that a little bit more and come back to us.
Sure.
I just want to make sure that the space we're building is going to have longevity for a long, long time, and seems tight to me, having been in a much smaller high school when I was in high school and having been very involved in music, and we had a band room and we had an orchestra room, and I don't really understand how you practice your band and your orchestra, which a lot of that stuff is happening after school, 8th period, 9th period, how that's going to happen if it's only one space. So maybe I misunderstand, but that would give me pause. And then can you talk to me a little bit about how the building is going to work for public events? You talked a little bit about the media center being able to be closed off, but can you talk a little bit more about, like, when you go to see a show at Albany High, where are you going to park, how are you going to get in, what sections of the building are going to be open, what sections are going to be closed?
Yes. So there are several ways to approach it, and which provides the flexibility for, I guess, the quantity of spectators you're expecting, as well as where they're parking. So there's obviously on-road or off-road parking at the front. The parking lots are remaining where they are now, as well as an upper one over here. So we anticipate that most of the events, the main entrance will essentially be where it is now. But it's a much larger, expansive entrance that provides the ability for the security checks that happen, but for it to be sort of planned. So they're not, bringing tables in and then taking them down. It will all be sort of worked into the main security vestibule space. So it's kind of an extended vestibule space that allows for large quantities of people to come in at the same time. So once you come in through here, this is where you end up, essentially centrally located. So you can either cross through here to go to the gym, or into the auditorium, or up the stair to go to the balcony. There will be a set of doors. You can see there's a set of doors here that close off this academy, as well as a set of doors here and here. And there will be a set of doors, actually, in fact, here and here. So the learning communities will be closed off from the main public spaces.
But the cafeteria, that, I can't remember what you're calling that, large dining space where I'm looking at the second floor of it right now, that will always be open? So once you're in the building, that's an open space?
As of now, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Brandon?
I really only have a comment to make because you all seem to be in quite a bit of discussion and meetings with the people from Albany High School that are going to have to live with this building once it's together. So I don't have a lot, to say, except that those of you who are at Albany High, the teachers, the guidance, just make sure your voice is heard. Do not say okay to something that you know isn't going to work for you later, regardless to how difficult it might seem. If you got a point, you got to press real hard, press on it, because once it's done, it's done. And the last thing me, I think, or any other board members want is for you to come back later and say, they did this and we told them not to do it and we're in a mess now. So I would only advise you to keep in close contact with these folk that are sitting at the mic and make sure your voice is heard and make sure that you can come within some bounds of what you want and what you need as this building is redone and the plans come to fruition, okay? That would be my only advice to you. And the same to, Rich and his crew. Just make sure that, everybody's on the up and up. Don't do anything that later they're going to come back and say, well, we told you not to do it, but you did it anyway, Just keep in close proximity with each other so that this building can come up to everybody's satisfaction.
And I'll just follow up on that. Our next round of discussions with the school are going to be, right now we've met them with them to talk about the number and type of spaces and where they need to be located in the buildings and things like that. Our next round of discussions will be in much more detail, like how many sinks do you really need in a science lab and what type of instrument storage do you need in the band room and all that level of detailed information.
Okay, thank you. Who didn't go yet? Yeah. No, go ahead, Ms. Sadler.
Thank you. I love that it's plugging along. And I'm glad the pool, is going to have the groundbreaking, so thank you for that. So my questions are, just as a throwaway, number one, because it's already been discussed, is I'd love for you to go back and revisit the music issue. I know everybody can't be happy, but I'd like you to go back on that. The second one is to verify where the existing gym is. In the rear, the word vestibule shows up on the floor plan. Does that mean that for athletic events that we will have people going in and out of the back entrance using that as opposed to coming in through the front entrance? No, it doesn't. So for the gym, the vestibule is just in the back of the gym there towards the rear.
Yeah, that's the kind of the existing vestibule. As we develop the plans a little further, that second set of doors that creates the vestibule may very well be taken out to actually give more space in the corridor there, so the intention is that people are still coming in the front door, going through security when the events are set up that they need to go through security for.
And what about in terms of egress, sort of after an athletic event is over? Because right now you go in through the main entrance and go through security that way, and then you go out through the door to the parking lot. So can you help me with the flow of that? Because I actually wrote a note about flow in general, being concerned. I know that these are just floor plans, but I'm just sort of thinking about a large crowd for a basketball game. They come in, they go in the front, and then is the flow going to be down? Is that doesn't look as narrow as it looks on the floor plan, the hall between the rubber gym and then the things across the hall from it? Mike.
The plans are very deceiving because the scale is very small. These are at 1 to 60 inches or something. So a typical corridor is a 15-foot corridor. So we have, and any of the main corridors are that size. But in terms of egress out, there's several different ways. They could come back out the way they came, right out the front, and then just come out the front door. There's also the option of coming down, going down this stair, and going out this way on the floor below, right, where most of the parking is.
Okay.
And then for emergency exit, there's actually exits out at this location and out in this location.
All right, good. So thank you on that. Then, as a good segue from the gym vestibule, I go into PE. So I went through the floor plans and what my knowledge is of the high school now, which I could be wrong about, but I think I'm relatively correct. And when I look at everything, I know that it doesn't, actually my note that I took was that, here's my problem. So we had a PE presentation within 4 to 6 board meetings ago, somewhere around 4 board meetings ago, a couple of months. And one of the things that was discussed in PE and as part of the written report before the presentation was overcrowding. And I know overcrowding has really 2 meanings. Part of it is the number of kids in a class with one teacher, but also the number of kids all sharing space in a gym. So when I look at the green marked spaces, I know that we, unfortunately, and I was part of that and I still would vote again the same way, we didn't enlarge the gym because it was some astronomical, like $10 million or something, or many millions to get 10 feet. Even though I do know that I always think there's a safety issue when kids are going up for layups and then the wall at the back of, by the boards is right there. But there's the rubber gym, there's the regular gym, there's the same, we still had a weight room. I know it's going to be a little bigger with the fitness space, but we have a weight room in a sense. We have a wrestling room. We have a dance studio. So when I look at this, the only thing I don't even consider, though it's an important thing for safety, I don't consider the running track even new because we always joke that we actually have a running track in the school. It's the hallways and that they slide around in it, but we've used it in inclement weather and all of that. So I look at that as a wash. My concern is with the pattern of growth for students that we are anticipating and the overcrowding that we presently have now. I still remain concerned that we are not and did not build in the kind of physical ed space that we need to do. And so help me understand this.
Just to go through all of the spaces just so we're clear on where they're at. And I'm going to borrow Tina's. That's when we get to. So some of the things, and we've talked about some of this when we were building up to the referendum. Obviously, you have the main gym, and then part of the issue with the rubber gym right now is part of it seems to always be used for storage. So they really can't use effective use of the rubber gym. So part of what we're picking up here is all the way around here and around here is additional storage that we're picking up for the gymnasium. So they'll be able to get all that stuff out of the rubber gym and be able to utilize the rubber gym more effectively. The other thing on the lower level, there's the space that they use for PE and for wrestling. This space is larger than the current space that they have available for that. We then have...
Rich, what's the difference in space? Because I mean, we have a wrestling room already, and it's not are gym classes held in there? I didn't think they were.
I don't think they currently use it, partially because of the size, partially because of the condition and location of it, but I don't know exactly the difference in square footage.
The existing wrestling room is somewhere between, is around 1,700 square feet. And so this one is over 2,000 square feet.
The other space that, so we have the weight room, and adjacent to it is an aerobics or a fitness room or more of that type of room. So actually what they wanted to do was to have two different spaces, a cardio room and then an actual weight room. And one of the changes we made in the planning as we were working through here, after we met with Kathy Ryan, because she says that for efficiencies, they need to be able to supervise both of those spaces with one instructor at some times. So instead of, at one point in time, we had an addition here where those two spaces were stacked on top of each other. And since they were completely separate, that didn't work well from a staffing standpoint. So when we reworked the plan, we located them here on the ground floor and have both a larger weight room and a separate cardio room for those functions.
So essentially, it's an additional space, it's an additional cardio room.
No, and I do understand that, but the way our PE works, and so maybe I'll ask you to, when you go back and talk music, go back and talk athletics again, is because they work in units. So, you know, there's this, obviously a swimming unit, but a lot of the other units are units that require an actual space for the entire class to be in, not really a weight room. And so I don't know that they're as fungible. I know you mark them on the plans as, you know, like a station or whatever, how you did sort of sequentially from one. And I understand we're not changing, we passed what we did and I stand behind it and support it. But I don't know that when, I guess what I saw when you came back with us after doing the interviews and you explained that you had talked to people in the report for the board here and that there were changes based on that, while they weren't huge changes, they were still changes nonetheless. And I guess for me, there are a couple of sticking points and I'm trying to figure out whether there's any creativity in what I see as changes that need to be made or should have been considered as well. And that is the sports, the PE as the actual mandated class, and the space it needs for its units to be rolled out for the year rather than a weight room. I mean, yes, maybe a dance room, you can stick a class in there, but when you're doing volleyball, it's really hard to do volleyball as a unit, which is a unit for everyone that takes it. I mean, all the kids do in a weight room. So it's that kind of thing that I don't think it's really fungible to go sequentially as you've had, because they're all not available for our standard PE classes. And you weren't here, so you wouldn't know, but when we get a report about it, then the bells went off, and I was looking to see what we were gonna get. So I guess my words to you on that is maybe the next time, or maybe in the interim before your next report, we can find out. And if the answer is nope, we have no flexibility, the walls are the way the walls are, there's no way to move things around, you know, I do, like I said, have concerns about not having that, that vision. And then the last question, I don't need an answer now, but I would like to find out, when we did tours with the old building, one of the things we pointed out, understandably, especially with the outdoor courtyard, that there were so many methods, so many doors to get in and out of the building. I would love to know, when all is said and done before we start working on the building, how many doors then we now have in the new building. Do I think that someone's going to go and check? I would hate, though, for someone to come to me and say, you know, I did a tour with you, and you counted off the methods of egress and the lack of security there. Hey, do you know you have 7 more doors than you had before? I don't think we will, but it's just an extra dose of caution in my mind, both for the rationale in going forward on the high school, but also from a sheer security. I'd love to be able to say, hey, you know, we really did shore it up, and by the way, these are the number of sort of doors by which somebody can get into our buildings. And then the last thing is, when we talk to you again, I'm just a cynic. So when Ann asked you before about what did people ask for that you were unable to give them, and then, because usually the follow-up is, so tell us then how why it wasn't, and we can explain it to taxpayers, or consumers. When they're asking those questions, it's more of consumers. I am a cynic, and I can't imagine that there was only one thing, and it was music, because we all have our wishes when we meet with people, and it's your job to sift it through and figure out what can be given and what can't.
Oh yeah, there were certainly
So
other
that would be
things.
awesome, because that's what she asked, and that would be great to know that moving forward, so we could know the good and the bad and be able to move forward as an informed board. Thanks so much.
Okay, anybody else? Ms. Savage, no? Okay. I thought it was a great presentation. I really liked it, and we had an opportunity here in Facilities Committee, so thanks for bringing it back and doing it all over again. I didn't see, though, and we discussed in Facilities, that you may have some slight timing differences than we talked about previously.
Yes, a couple things. The first is, before I forget, our plan right now is to come back at the November 17th board meeting and do another update, and that's where we'll start getting into the three-dimensional and what some of the building's going to look like in a lot more detail in what we're calling Phase 1. As we've gotten into some of the construction logistics and how we're actually going to build this thing and keep all the students and staff safe and learning while we're doing it all, we're looking at a slightly different phasing concept than what we presented before the vote. And that is, we're still building the 3-story classroom wing first. We know that that's first priority and that's non-negotiable in our mind. The next thing is, because of where we need to build some of the infrastructure, the new cooling plant and heating plant and some of that for the whole building, we are going to propose that we build the art and music wing second, and the renovations in that area, and then we'll get into the infilling the courtyard between the buildings, and then finish up with the majority of the renovation in the existing building. And there may be some tweaks and variations on that as we further work with Turner Construction to delve into all the details of how we're going to build it. And we'll be able to, again, at the November 17th board meeting, we should be able to talk more about those proposed phasing scenarios.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to reiterate Sue and Ann's comment about returning to the music department in particular and discussing spacing. We seem to be on track with the pool. I just wanted to double check. Is end of April still a good target date?
Yes.
Yes, okay, great. And that's it for me. Ms. Smith, you have a question?
Sure. Thank you. I was just going to kind of stay quiet because what I was hearing, and but Sue, you caused me to think about something. And really, this is a question I think and I don't need an answer, but it's for Dr. Wilkins and Cabinet. Sue, when you talked about how we deliver instruction now in terms of units and sort of that kind of thing, are we, Dr. Wilkins, down the road also talking about we might be doing things in a very, very different way, so that the way that you're describing how we roll out things now may not look that way down the road. So I didn't want to get too, while I respect your question, I didn't want to get too caught up in it, because I think what this facility allows us to think about how we schedule things, for instance, a little differently. And you have more to say, but do you know that makes sense?
Again, totally, because you're looking at it's almost like you're trying to predict the future when it comes to curriculum and instruction and what will be going on in 10 years versus 20 years versus today. So is that what you're saying? That's not what you're saying, but that's what Ms. Smith is saying. Yeah, she said that you made her start thinking about that. So, right.
See, because you were making me think about, Sue, and again, I don't want to belabor it, but I was trying to think about, what's that phrase, trying to fit around something into a peg something, and, okay.
And since this is a workshop, I will just sort of more flexible. No, but I actually was not talking 10 years down the road. I was thinking about the fact that we have our P curriculum, and unless there's going to be some shift in SED curriculum and things that get done, I was just imagining that, not some larger picture of how things are done in the school. That was all. That was the only thing I was talking about.
Okay. Were you looking? And I'm just saying that, and Dr. Wilkins, I don't know that it's 10 years. I think I think we can do things differently a lot sooner. But I want to encourage the thinking outside of the box for how we, look at education, going forward. And I think this is just my own impression from state ed and what I've heard the commissioner say. I believe we're in a little bit of a period where there's going to be more local control over things, I hope. That's just my impression, and we should demand that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Dr. Brandon, did you? Okay.
Wait. No.
Well, she's mostly saying she'll wait. Ms. Savage.
I have a very specific, practical, easy question. This adjustment in phasing, does it result in the same total project length?
Yes.
Is it the same time frame? Okay, I believe that's it. Thank you. Thanks, Rich. Thanks, Tina. Appreciate it. Okay, next up is summer school K through 8. The clock hasn't gone off once tonight. Is it actually running?
I haven't spoken yet, so.
Wanda, you want to operate this? What is it? It's the remote with this.
I think we'll pass it down.
Why pass it? One person operate. Down, look, down to advance, up the backspace. Don't touch any of these buttons.
No, but they're presenting this.
We can do it back here. Does that make it easier? Yeah.
You want us to do it back here because we're right here?
Okay, well, good evening and welcome. Okay, you've been allocated 30 minutes, and Ms. Savage is going to give you a 5-minute warning. Can you just introduce yourselves, into the mic for the audio record?
Bridget Dodson, coordinator for the Jumpstart program.
Lisa Momberger, coordinator for the Jumpstart program.
Alicia Holt-Riley, co-coordinator for the elementary summer school program at Pine Hills Elementary School.
Wanda Carter, the co-partner at New Scotland Elementary School.
Jessie Richards, co-coordinator for the middle school summer start program.
Nicole Biette, co-coordinator for the middle school summer school program.
Tom Gilio, director for ENL and Refugee Services.
Lily Tu, ENL homeschool coordinator and ENL Newcomer Summer School Academy coordinator.
Okay, welcome and thank you very much. Proceed.
Jumpstart was a 4-week-long summer program targeting incoming kindergarten students. This program was twofold. It focused on social, emotional, and academic readiness skills. This helped support students with a successful transition into kindergarten as they gained a clear understanding of school routines and expectations. This year, we narrowed the scope and sequence of the curriculum with a focus on student names to target letter identification, letter sounds, and math concepts through small group and hands-on activities. Students maintained or showed progress in all areas. Attendance was consistent as door-to-door bus service was used this year.
To maximize our enrollment to capacity, we would refocus our efforts to include our current pre-K students that have demonstrated the academic and social need to participate. As we have the ability to review the progress monitoring data, students that have made some or little progress on the assessment will be invited to participate in May on the onset rather than to supplement. Additionally, they would be good role models for the new entrants around established routines and things of that nature. As we would also have new entrant data, we will also be able to save some spots for the new enrollees to the district. So we feel that would be a good course of action to take.
Okay, just a quick question here for the board. Do you want to take questions as they go through, or do you want to wait and hear all of it and ask questions later? So who wants to, you want to? Okay, Jen, you'd like to dive in, and Ellen, looks like you'd like to dive in.
No, I'd like to keep going and then do it.
And then return for questions. How about you guys? Okay, Dr. Brandon? Okay, let's listen. Thank you.
Good evening. Wanda and I had the pleasure of serving as the coordinators for the elementary program. We served a total of 257 students with 56 staff members. It was a 5-week program. The program ran from 8:30 to 1 o'clock each day, Monday through Friday. The students had the opportunity to enhance literacy skills using the iRead program. In addition, they also had an opportunity to enhance math skills using the Math Navigator program. And Wanda will speak a little bit more to the successes and the strengths of the program and the students. Students also had the opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities. We had several community partners which helped to add and enhance to our enrichment program and also helped to build students' social and emotional development in addition to their academic enrichment. In total, our expended budget was $350,000. I'm sorry, our total expenditures were $304,000, so we came in about $52,000 under budget.
I want to give thanks to the board for actually providing us with a curriculum. This is something that we've been challenged with, and the summer school program had the opportunity to actually pilot the program before the beginning of the school year. In K through 2nd grade, we had the opportunity to use the Wonders program, and in that program there was a pilot program that we used called the iRead, and we used that from K2, and in grades 3 through 5, we had the opportunity to focus on another program, the Go Math, and the monitoring of oral reading. And as you can see on the graph there, what we had the opportunity to do was give students time, 25 minutes a day, 5 days a week, was the recommended time for students to work on the iRead program from K to 2. That was something that we really wanted to focus on. Unfortunately, we weren't able to actually give kids the 25 minutes per week, but it was something that we did start. In grades 3 through 5, students had the opportunity to work on another portion of the iRead program and the monitoring of oral reading fluency, and also the Math Navigator program.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Slides, we have 2 more.
Sorry. So using the Math Navigator program, you can see that students made gains based on pre- and post-assessment data. In regards to our attendance and discipline, we had an 86% average daily attendance rate and a few disciplinary issues as evidenced by our report and the presentation.
Our proposed next steps We would like starting students at the end of the third marking period and increased transportation access points. And what we're referring to that is this year what we did was students had to actually go to the various schools. And we want to open it up and provide families additional opportunities to receive transportation by going to different stops, not just the actual schools. So this was something that the parents asked for. We brought it back to Ms. Turner-Wilson, and she said that we can look into that, and we're going to provide that for the parents. Additional stops, pickup stops. We're also going to we're considering providing a full-day program that includes enrichment of the academic opportunities, and we are investigating funding sources to support a full-day program that will support increased attendance and academic maintenance and growth. We also would like to increase the hours for professional development for teachers, time before student arrival, 3 to 9 hours, and additional teacher PD time. That's another thing that the teachers had asked that we can do, and we heard their voices, and we're going to provide them with additional PD time. We would also like to increase the coaching hours for math and for ELA. We would also like to have the coaches, this year the coaches didn't have the opportunity to come in as much. So again, the coaches along with the teachers said, you know, if we had more time, we can provide more services for them, and we're gonna make sure that that happens for next year. And the total, am I done? Is that okay? Sorry.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. The Middle School Summer Start program was at Myers Middle School. It serves students in rising grades 7 through 9 who had failed 2 or more courses over the course of the academic year. It was 5 weeks. We ran from the 5th of July to the 5th of August. Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Students received 90 minutes of ELA instruction, 90 minutes of math. We also provided AIS pull-out services for reading and AIS push-in services for math. We served 172 students. We had 23 teachers, 1 library media specialist, a nurse, 3 teacher assistants, 4 hall monitors, 3 homeschool coordinators, a typist, and then Jesse and I serving as the co-coordinators. Our total budget was $139,872. We did come in a little bit more than $10,000 under budget. I want to just talk about that really briefly. We were short 1 AIS math teacher. We had hired a full staff. She called us on registration and told us that she was no longer interested. So we were able to fill that math position with one of our AIS teachers, but that did leave us with a hole in AIS. We had a challenge to hire math teachers in general, so that was the best way that we could fill that hole. We were also short 2 ENL teachers, which turned out to be fine. We only had 3 ENL students, thank you to the Newcomer Academy. So if we had had those 3 ENL teachers, it would have been a 1-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio. Additionally, because we had our own substitute, when teachers missed days, which they did for a variety of reasons, mostly for interviews, we were able to fill that internally and then did not have to pay out those hours to teachers. We also had the fabulous Randy Ford, who did not need an assistant, so we just had 1 typist. And we also stayed well within our budget for supplies. So for ELA, I did most of the work with that, and when we thought to ourselves, how are we going to measure student growth, we realized that we needed to create pre- and post-assessments. So those were created using old New York State exam questions based on our district's prioritized standards. I created those, and I did that by taking our priority standards, going back through old ELA exams, and pulling questions that played into those standards. Then I created an answer key for all of those that were standards aligned so that we could easily pull data. And in addition to that, we had standards-based tracking every week in ELA. Teachers targeted a Common Core learning standard for the week and tracked progress at least 3 times a week. So that's how we measured our gains, and you will see that we had 36.6% growth in ELA in 6th grade,
43.8% growth in 7th grade, and 16.8% growth in 8th grade, which we were extremely proud of. So for math, we had a focused math intervention program designed by Teacher Created Materials that was purchased by Doreen Mitchell, the retired math coordinator, for the purpose of summer program. And it was a data-driven program which supplied us with a pre and post assessment for the students. It was made up of 35 questions. We graded it based on the district's passing rate of 65%. And then it was broken down, the questions were broken down into standards, and teachers were able to use lessons from the focused math intervention kit to program for their day and plan their lessons accordingly. When it came to 6th grade, we did have a 1% decrease from pre-assessment to post-assessment, but we also had an increase in students' population. Some teachers were able to get the pre-assessment done the first 3 days when we were still registering for students, and then they ran out of time for those students. For 7th grade, we had a 3% increase with a decrease in student population. And then in 8th grade, a 14% increase with a decrease in student population regardless. So they did make some gains, not the gains we necessarily wanted to see, but as Nicole had mentioned, we struggled with finding specifically math teachers, so we had to use what resources were available. We did use a PBIS model for the students. There was 6 30-minute blocks for teachers to track student behavior using districts be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. The students were expected to get 14 out of 18 of their points per day in order to participate in the PBIS incentive at the end of the week, which was a simple going to the gym, the computer lab to use the computers, or outside when we had nice days. For 6th grade, 60% of these students on average were able to attend those incentives. In 7th, 65%, and in 8th, 67% were able to attend those incentives. So not at the 80% that the district wants to be, however, considering how well they knew their teachers and had to get to know each other, it's pretty good numbers. So when we thought about our recommendations for next year, we were given the charge to do some research and shoot for the moon. So that's what we did. And our strategies are based on that. So we also want to echo the idea that we would, what is the thing that we're missing that they just talked about? Okay, all right, so we'll come back to that. So we wanted to revise our schedule to have a more camp-like feel. There is research done by Halverson, Duke, and Brugger that is narrowing the achievement gap, and it discusses what a summer school program would look like for middle school. Some of the things that it talked about were more of a camp-like feel and having a real differentiation between the school year and between the summer learning program. And that is what we would want to focus on, is calling it a summer learning program versus summer school. Yes.
Sorry, Nicole, for you guys to come here and to cite research, I know I'm using their time, we just have to applaud you. Unbelievable for going and doing that.
Thanks.
Just going and doing your homework and coming back, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. So in order to create that more camp-like feel and contribute to a summer learning program instead of a summer school program, we want to focus on acceleration versus remediation. We think that the first way to do that is through project-based learning with teamed teachers of English and social studies, math and science in blocked classes. Doing that would provide students with more teacher attention, and it would also provide some of the discipline issues that we had this year. It would alleviate those to have that team-teacher model. Also, the engagement that would come along with that. Engagement is our first line of defense in classroom management, and PBL is research-based in providing that structure. Also, in order to make it more of this camp-like feel and a summer learning experience, we want to prepare our students to be career and college ready. So we were thinking about Friday field trips to local learning institutions. We were thinking that we would definitely
go to SUNY Albany, one of the local community colleges, either Hudson Valley or Schenectady Community, and then either St. Rose or Siena, so that students could see what it looks like and what it feels like to be a college student, and hopefully to bring some of those attitudes and ideas back into the summer learning program with them. We also wanted to discuss the creation of a physical health half block and a social health half block. We think that a lot of times our discipline problems are coming from a lack of skills in terms of, I don't want to say our students are not empathetic, that's not what I'm saying at all, but they do lack some of the skills that go along with building empathy. The pro-social and physical health block would take care of that. And also it would build those pro-social behaviors that we're lacking when we're seeing discipline problems. The creation of the physical health half block would give our students a break. We realized that when our kids were sitting for all day, because we did have them sit all day in order to ease transitions, which led to having only one in-building fight this summer, which was awesome. But they need some time to get up and move around. We thought that we could, in the middle of the day, put in a break for a mindful moment, at the very least. At the very best, to get in a health/PE teacher who does something physical with students for half a block during the day. So when we looked at the pro-social behavior piece, we also thought a little bit about our Tier 3 behavior students and what that would mean for them in terms of being a part of the program. And if we were to keep our MAPS and our MAPS students in the summer school program, it would help with that. But if not, we were hoping that there would be wraparound services for them provided over the summer. So there is some budget impact for that.
Were you referring to getting them done earlier, doing the professional development earlier? Is that what you were talking about?
Yes. All right, and then the one piece that I'm missing is the professional development earlier. So we would want to hire our teachers earlier in the year with the hopes of being able to secure more district staff. We think that a lot of the behavior problems we had were because our teachers didn't know our kids, and it's important to know our kids. And to show them that they have a vested interest in our students' future, and our district teachers do that better than anybody else. So to hire them earlier and then have some curriculum writing opportunities during the school year so that when we start off, we're starting off strong and we're starting off with everybody knowing exactly what they're doing.
So the budget impacts would be hiring a science and social studies teacher, which would be approximately $28,500, depending on the amount of sections and teachers we would need to hire. Also, the cost of a physical health teacher and a social worker for the social emotional piece, totaling approximately $7,500. Field trips and transportation would be approximately $5,000, and then the extra hours per day for the exception of Friday would be $19,500. So a total of $60,500 difference, or increase. However, we did go under budget by around just over 10,000, so it'd be more around 50.
We also considered only half staffing on Fridays for those field trips. So giving teachers every other Friday off and having the field trips manned by homeschool coordinators, hall monitors, and then half of our teaching staff, which would also lessen some of that budget impact.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good evening. We are going to be talking about our newcomer summer program. We're really excited to actually realize the birth of our first newcomer program this summer. We're really excited about it. We had anticipated that we would be getting a wave of incoming refugees, and we were correct. I'll get to that a little bit more later. So we designed a 4-week, full-day program for students kindergarten through 21 years of age, and we do like to always emphasize that it's not just K-12, but we have many of our children that are between the ages of 18 to 20 that typically don't get any services. They kind of fall in between the cracks and age out of the system, so to speak. So when we design this program, we always like to make it a point to say that it's K through 21, and we did have a specialized teacher for those children for this rendition of our newcomer program. We were located at Toast, which was an awesome thing for us in terms of logistics, the center of the city, and we were able to utilize a lot of the benefits that the city had. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The focus was really twofold. Obviously, we think it's really important. No significant learning can happen without relationship building and kids feeling safe. We know that from NUA. And kids need to have that basic hierarchy need met, social, emotional standpoint. Also, the other side of our RTI triangle, we know that we do need to have rigor and literacy skills, consumer math skills built into the program. So we were able to serve 145 students. Unfortunately, we did have to turn many students away because we just didn't have the capacity for it. And we were able to have 8 E&L teachers. And I also want to make special note of a lot of the staff that maybe we don't typically think, in particular, Mr. Ray Gifford, Catholic Charities, he's assigned at Hackett. He did a phenomenal job, and I just want to applaud the board for continuing that relationship with Catholic Charities and the amazing work that counselors like Mr. Gifford do. He was really phenomenal in supporting us. We had my secretary, basically we moved my office to Toast for the 4 weeks. Our total budget was right around $75,000, total expense $66,000. The reason for the discrepancy is Mrs. Wilson Turner was able to take some of the E&L teachers that were based in the other summer school programs with a different budget line than I had with my grants. So metrics, always a tricky thing in less than 20 days of instruction. But it's also really important. We need to find out what we're doing. So students were exposed to basic phonemic awareness with letter identification, sound skills in the elementary program. Math, this was a really fun way to integrate what I call consumer math, or just natural math in the world. Like if you're going to go to a movie, how do you budget it? What is the ticket? What's the cost? You have to also factor in the time of the movie. So we really tried to integrate our basic math skills, not with just worksheets, but actual real life applications, and then the kids would actually go out and do those real life math applications in the real world. Social emotional sports we feel is a real strength of our department. And obviously Lily next to me was a huge component of that. So again, I love the language that my colleagues here are using about being proactive with a strength-based model for our children for their social emotional needs. And so there's a research-based getting to know our school's curriculum that's approved by New York State. And we had that in the language of preference, the native language of our students, as well as in English. And this was done through videos, as well as having real-life interpreters on hand throughout the program that really enriched the experience for the children. We'll get to that a little bit more with some of the parent survey work that Lily did. Also, we targeted our middle school students, 60 of them, with a brand new program that Lexikey created for us. Not just acquiring language, but you've heard the term before about all of our children, our native kids here in Albany. We need to cultivate their academic language, and they have to have those translational skills to apply that academic language in assessment settings. And so we do have some nice data around an 85% retention rate for 31 new academic terms in only 17 days of instruction. And what I really loved about that is we correlated it with the 4 modalities of the NYSESLAT, which is our big assessment in the spring. And children have to be able to express those new terms in the 4 modalities of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. One thing that we knew would be an awful lot of work, Lily and I were designing the program, was as we got input from the families in the spring about how can we best serve them, they kept saying, oh, well, we're not really interested if it's a half-day program. That's really not going to meet our needs. And we had to really stop our thinking and go back to the drawing board and say, okay, you know, we really need to think about how we can serve our students and our families and not have it be the other way around. And even though it took a lot of work, and our teachers were phenomenal, by the way, they really worked long hours, we decided to make it a full-day program, and we wouldn't penalize kids that were in the city work program. We let them leave at the half-day so that they could go to their city jobs. But what we found by making that choice was the attendance rate was really breathtaking, 97%. And as a matter of fact, we had many students that would come to school extremely sick, which was kind of an interesting problem for us to have. Our nurse, by the way, was phenomenal in the health office with us. So I thought that was a really great problem to have, where kids are coming to school and they're really too sick, and we have to say, no, 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 you really have to go home. So we thought that was great. Lily did an awesome job with, how do you quantify parent surveys for folks that don't speak English? It's not just like put something in the backpack and maybe the parents will fill it out. Typically, you have low return rates anyway with that. So Lily did a great job doing some parent outreach after the program, and she created her own survey with a scale of 1 to 5 on 5 questions, 5 being rated as excellent. And when we added up all the results in, we had a 98.3% score of excellent. And Lily, did you want to talk about some of the comments that the parents or advocates said to you?
The participants are parents, community leaders, and volunteer and mentor. I always receive phone call during summer school, and I always thought when I gave up these survey questions, I would receive a negative comments. But my impression was they all gave me 5. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And they're very happy, especially the ENL parents saying that their children get to know about their friends who speak other languages, which they're very happy about that, and parents can communicate with teacher. Especially in our summer school, most of the staff, they speak 2 languages or more, so we are able to communicate with parents. We have teachers who can speak Chinese. We have teachers who can speak Spanish. Me, myself, I speak Korean and Burmese, and we also have another teacher who speaks French and Arabic. So it is, we have a good communications and relationship with parents.
And in terms of discipline, I think because we were able to relate and communicate with the children and the scale was more workable, we had a really high success rate, and we would do reteaching. Lily would reteach the children just like we do during the typical school year with our PBIS expectations. I love to hear the unity across the programs as I sit here tonight, because wow, when I hear the other programs talking about the 3 Bs, we talked about the 3 Bs with our newcomers and what the right way to walk down the hallway is, and having the child go ahead and reteach themselves on the right way to do it. And we had a great success rate. One child wasn't able to complete the program due to some other mental health issues. So next steps, in reflecting how we even think about summer programming, and I also want to commend my colleagues here for thinking in terms of summer programming versus summer school. We really need to think of it as an ongoing process rather than a finite destination at the end of an academic school year. So we're going to have our first summer school newcomer meeting next week, because we're going to, and I talked with Mrs. Wilson-Turner on this, we really need to think about calibrating ourselves once a month, regardless of what we think summer money might look like or programming might look like or staffing. We're just going to go ahead and plan it. So with that, we're going to have our first meeting next week, and we're going to meet once a month as a team, getting the feedback from what worked. And as I said before, we also learn a lot by what doesn't work well, and moving forward. And also, I actually really have to commend Mr. Hogan's department in terms of processing all of the paperwork to allow the field trips and POs to happen. It came fast and furious. And it was great to have the support of that department. But we're thinking about how can we make sure all that stuff gets planned out way ahead of time, so that department's not stressed out in the summer and everything is kind of laid out for us. So we're really excited about that. We also heard from our parents that we need to have a continuing adult education component to it, basically adult English classes, so we're looking into that. We are going to move forward with a mini February Newcomer Academy. As I mentioned before, since July 1st to October 15th, we have over 250 new Ls registered to the district. I think I had over 11 just today. And we are also going to see if we can have our own coordinator so that Lily can go back to doing more of a home school coordinating job, and I can get back to my regular job and just support the coordinator. Thank you.
Okay, we have a lot of people and probably a lot of questions, so can we just go through one question at a time? And let's start with Jumpstart.
Well, I'm just gonna, I don't have a question really for this group. Number one, I just want to applaud you again. This is phenomenal. You give, when I get to hear you all speak and present, it is absolutely exciting, and it gives me tremendous hope for what we can do with our students, how we can get them to be more successful. And just generally, I like that you're thinking outside of the box. You're just planning it. You're not going to sit there and say, well, we only have this much money. What are we going to do if we have this much money? You're thinking, you're just going to present it to us. I love it. And we're going to do our best, I know, to support everything that you do because it's so important and it matters. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, and your other staff. And I'm just like on fire right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms. Roach.
I'd just like to reiterate what Ms. Smith said. Thank you so much for the excellent presentation. It sounds like we're really making a difference, and thank you for both providing data about the outcomes and telling us what we can do for you to expand this program and allow it to help more kids. Thank you very much.
Ms. Lang.
Hi, I think I have a question for, my first question is probably for everyone. I wanted to know the number of people that were targeted for summer school that came versus those that did not come. That is my first question. I think
Hey, Jen, let's just ask Jumpstart questions. So, yeah.
Oh, I thought
No,
we were...
Okay.
It's one question for Ruth.
Yeah, it's the same question. No, they didn't. She has a question for let's hear from Jumpstart.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, well, the question, you want me to... Okay. How many children were targeted, and how many people did end up coming into the program?
Melissa,
Because
you can grab a mic back there.
it's my
too.
understanding that letters were sent home to parents saying we would like for your child to come. So I was wondering how many people responded to what percentage of children came to the summer school versus those that did not.
Okay, I believe at the end we targeted about, hold on.
No, that's not how many she tested.
All right, hold on. No. 53 screened. That's not it, though. No. All right. I believe we targeted close to about 95 students. Obviously, we would have liked to have targeted more. One of the issues that we did have was because of the late registration date this year for kindergarten. It was May 19th. Also, one of the reasons why you saw for our proposed next steps that we were going to change that up a little because we do want to maximize that enrollment.
How many of the children in kindergarten did not go to pre-K? Were all of them not in pre-K?
No, it's broken down on that.
Yeah.
Here, I read that, I'm sorry.
So there's 35 new registrants.
Can you just say that into the mic?
Sorry, there was 35 new registrants.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And part of the problem with that as well, Melissa Hasty, Early Childhood Director, is that how exciting is that to say? Sorry.
Thank you.
Is that the rollover that occurred from pre-K to kindergarten did not include the off-site locations. So we were getting new registrants from Marva that were actually not new registrants. They were students that were attending pre-K in the off-site programs. And so, so when you look at the kindergarten new registrant data, it looks different, but that's because some of those students were already in our pre-K programs before.
All right, thank you. Ms. Savage.
I think the question is it?
No, let's do Jumpstart. Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah.
So I actually have a Jumpstart question, which is, it may not actually be for you guys. It may be for cabinet. I noticed about the early registration for kindergarten that that's one of your recommendations for next year. And my question is, how does that impact the rest of the world? What happens to other things if we move the kindergarten program early? Do you want to talk about that today, or do you want to just reflect on that and send it to us in writing? I don't want to put you on the spot. I just need to understand that.
We can say that we've been talking about it, and for the 2017 May kindergarten registration, it's still late, but we have talked about moving it up with Marva in conversations around enrollment and registration. So we're hoping for the next year for it to happen at an earlier time. The components that we have to look at are the high school lottery, and when that's drawn, when the magnet begins for the applications, and then pre-K, and then spacing it out so central registration with their 3 staff people is not overwhelmed with all of the people coming in to register.
I hadn't even thought about that part, but one of the questions that came up last time we addressed this was the question of whether we have to draw the pre-K lottery before, like whether that has to sequence in that way, or whether we can have the kindergarten registration whenever we want and not muck about with the lottery dates. So I just want you to have that in your head. Yeah.
Ms. Sadler? No. Dr. Brandon? Jumpstart, yeah.
Mr. President, if you would just be nice enough to let me, I'll be very brief. First of all, I want to commend all of you for the excellent job you're doing. Secondly, I want to especially tell middle school how impressed I am with your enthusiasm, because middle school, summer school, as Tom's going to hear me repeat for, well, how long? This is my 8th year on the board. I think I've said it it's been a thorn in my side. So you gals are very enthusiastic, and I read your, your write-up, and just keep it up. It's going to be a slow turnaround, and just keep chomping at the bit, okay, until you get it where you know it needs to be, because it hasn't been where it needs to be in a long time. I don't think it was ever where it was supposed to be, okay? I just wanted to say that. And all of you are doing a splendid job, and please keep it up. Melissa, just keep doing what you're doing. I noticed that all of you, except for Jumpstart, were under budget. And I'm going to ask a question to Jumpstart, and it'll apply to all of you all. But my question is, with Jumpstart, you were like $7,000 over. Then I looked at your next steps, and you're asking for maybe $32,000 in it. Would that be in addition to what you used last year? Or do you understand where I'm coming from? She's nodding. Yeah, I think Melissa's nodding. That would be in addition to what you used. You need another, it looks like $32,000 to take care of your next steps. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's
Okay.
with an increased budget of $10,000, because where we went over was
Okay.
our transportation. We kept the same transportation budget from the
Okay.
year previous, but we expanded to 2 sites.
Okay. Now to the rest of you, same question. What you're asking for in your next steps, that will be in addition to what you used, right? I just want to get an idea budget-wise where you're going, that's all.
Okay.
Okay?
Keep that in
Thank
mind
you.
when we
Thank
get to
you.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much, but that's all I really wanted to know. And stay encouraged and keep doing a good job, that's all. Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me to do all mine at one time.
Thank you, Dr. Brandon. My Jumpstart question is there, and maybe it's there somewhere and I forgot it, but is there a follow-up? Like, how are you measuring the success of the summer program relative to fall entry for these students? Did they really get a jump start?
So we have done some preliminary just conversations following up with students as we're out doing site visits. Lisa has gone to programs where the children have entered as kindergarten students and spoken with the teachers directly. And then a plan from here is when all the Lori Strong assessment data is done, K-2 is to pull the K data from Lynn Strang and look at the students that were in the program, that were in our program and where they started with the Lori Strong assessment data. But Lisa can talk more to what we found from the teachers.
Little switch forward.
You're good.
Okay, sorry. As I do site visits, so I go around to the different elementary schools, I've made it a point to try to stop in and see the kindergarten teachers who I know my students have gone to, that have gone to the Jump Start program. I have gotten wonderful reviews from every kindergarten teacher that I've spoken to. Even the children that struggled a little bit with maybe behavior issues, or they have never been in school before, have made great progress socially. They're doing well, following rules and routines, which we all know when children are young are just as important as the academic skills. The teachers that I've talked to have also said that they could definitely tell the difference of the children that had, didn't have this experience but did do the Jump Start program, definitely came in knowing more and being a little better off.
Bridget. I also just wanted to add one more thing to that. The progress reports that were completed on each of the students along with the assessments were mailed directly to the students' home schools so that their incoming kindergarten teachers knew exactly what was covered with them over the summer and had a baseline to start working with the students.
Thank you. Any other Jump Start questions, Jen? Miss Lang, sorry.
On your metrics, number of students that maintained or grew, I was wondering what the grew meant.
We actually had a pre and post form to provide to you to show you exactly when they grew, what that looked like per student. And it wasn't included in this data, but we can provide that to you. But it's broken down with the pre-screening that was done either when they started or when Lisa screened them as new entrants. And then the post that was done just prior to the last week of program.
So it's not like based on a percentage, or it's just each child is different?
So for example, if there were 4 colors that the child had to identify, we did the pre-assessment, how many colors they were able to identify, and then at the end of the program, we reassessed that, and that's where we pulled those numbers from. So students either maintained the original pre-assessment data that they came in with or showed growth.
Some kind of growth.
Some kind of growth, yes.
Some kind of growth, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have Jump Start questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Did you want the data?
I'm sorry?
Did you want the data?
Yes. Okay. I just was.
Okay, let's go with elementary. Jen, you had a question that you wanted to ask everybody, and that was?
Oh, it was the same question, yeah. How many children were selected and did not attend summer school?
So there was a total of 500 students that we had originally targeted, 250 in each school, Pine Hills and New Scotland Elementary. And the way we targeted them was through the Lori Strong program, along with students who had scored the level 2, and to prevent them from experiencing the summer learning losses. So just thinking back on last year, summer school, we really focused on the students who were at the bottom. This time although we didn't focus at the students that were on the very bottom, and we focused on the students in level 2, those students on level 1 received RTI instruction, which is response to intervention, 5 days a week. So they were still receiving that instruction. So it was a little confusing to parents when we approached the level 2 students, because they said, oh my goodness, is my kid failing? Why are you asking my kid to come to summer school? They really didn't understand that. So we explained to them we wanted to make sure that they kept what they learned and that we can take them to that next. We felt that we could really reach them and really make sure that we can show growth, and we were able to do that. And because our numbers were low and some parents decided that they did not want their children to come, the students in level 2, we then opened it up to those students who were on the bottom low, and they incorporated it into our program. Is that for?
Okay, and Dr. Brandon. Dr. Brandon's question.
Can you repeat it again, Dr. Brandon?
Your question. Your question was for the whole group, right?
Everybody understood what I wanted. Thank you. I'm straight. I did everything at one time.
They just wanted you to repeat it so that they just wanted you to repeat your question, which was for the whole group.
Question?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Jumpstart, you're straight, right, on what I asked you?
Yes. We got
Okay,
that.
so the question is the same for those of you that were under budget.
It was a budgetary question.
It's a budgetary question.
So,
And the part of it was, where's my little slip? Now I got to, hold on just a minute.
Your question was how, if the additional proposed cost.
Yeah, see, you were all under certain amounts, but then in your next steps, you had an amount that you would need to make your next steps work. So I wanted to know, is the next step money to be added to what you used already? Because if it is, especially with one of you that wanted 200,000 or whatever it was, that's going to push the budget up. In order, and we as a board want you to have whatever you need, but we need to know how much it's going to cost us because we got to deal with the fellow right there to try to see.
So I'm going to step in for the
gonna get-
elementary.
So it will, so the amount that we budgeted for this year, we anticipate for those numbers, if those numbers were to stay the same, if we were to maximize our student potential and we had all of our students, then we would operate at the amount that we had originally anticipated, in addition to the amount that would be necessary to increase the hours of our program in order to increase PD and also to increase the number of hours for coaches and transportation as well.
Yeah, are you the one that was 200 and something thousand, 213,000?
Yes. Yes.
We work.
Yeah, you were under budget by about 50,000.
52,
So
52,000.
you need what you spent,
right,
plus the 200 and some odd thousand that you need to make your next steps work.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's the point I was, and that would be for the others of you also. Just wanted to make everybody understand. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else for elementary school?
This is sort of a crossover question between elementary and middle, and I have a feeling, first of all, I didn't say thank you, and it's not because I didn't want to thank you, but you guys did a fantastic job. It was a wonderful report to read and listen to, so I didn't want to skip that part. But when I compare the elementary costs to the middle school costs, even at this year's numbers, the middle school cost is per student, so I divided by student, is about 60% of the elementary school cost, but then you guys only asked for $60,000 more, and you guys asked for $228,000 more, and when I add those and divide by students, it results in the middle school program being essentially half the cost per student as elementary. And there's probably a really obvious reason to teachers why that's the case, but to me as a layperson, I'm like, how come? Why is that? Why is elementary so much more than middle? And so that's my question.
So elementary is so much more than middle school because we were supposed to serve twice as many students. So as you heard the lady say, we canvassed upwards of 500 families to participate in summer school and were staffed accordingly. So we had under the enrollment that we expected for summer school this year. And we contribute a lot of that to the fact that last year we offered a full day program, and this year we offered a half-day program. And so the new costs that you see are based on research around what the best program offering is for elementary and summer school, very similar to middle school, is to be able to balance that enrichment component with the academic component. And so in order to offer a full day of elementary school from 8:30 to 3:30 during the summer with an enrichment component, that basically doubles the cost of offering summer school at the elementary level.
So what was the projected enrollment?
515.
515. And when we staff that, when we don't have enrollment, our contract doesn't allow us to reduce our staffing?
Great question. There's no written guidance around reducing staffing for summer school staff. And so what we need to do going forward is to have something that gives notice to teachers that if we are under our enrollment for students, that there is a potential that you would not be continued for summer school.
Good question. Dr. Brandon's going to go next, and you, Ms. Sadler.
And you're the group that wanted to extend your day even more?
Yes, because it's only half day now.
You want to go whole day?
Yeah.
You want to go back to the 4 day? Yeah, well, that accounts for half the money you want right there.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
So I just want to, I have a question, but I have a clarification first on what Ann said, because I also had an issue about the numbers. So Cecily, the $356,000 budget was for 500 and...
We approximated that we could fit 225 students, K to 5 in each building, so 550 was what we projected. We
So-
got half of that.
So the
Or
500...
just under half of that.
No, what I'm saying is, so the budget that was allocated, $356,551, was for approximately 550 students. So, okay, so I'm going to have to wait for a second question on around because I have a question about this. So I'm not sure as to why you would be adding the additional money on. Do you actually anticipate when you come back for budget that you are going, in other words, I guess the question is 550 a realistically attainable number for elementary summer school?
Yes.
I mean, you're going to be able to get those kids in their
Yes.
seats?
Yes.
And if you look
And
at...
do you anticipate that when you budget for this year for the 2017 summer school, that the clause or whatever is needed in will be in there so that we do get the savings?
That is what we would do. So we would still, our intention is to be able to serve a certain number of students from each of our elementary schools. 250 seats would not, that's like 2 or 3 kids from each grade level, and that doesn't really help a school building. So our intent is to have a significant representation from each school building. Like, schools were complaining when we said they could only give 11 from each grade level this year. But we really believe that families chose other options that were full day over
Because
a
of the
half
full
day
day,
option.
okay.
And so we would be able to fill that if it was full day.
All right, great.
If you note the... yeah, let me just stop in here for a second. The number of staff is 56, so it's like a 1 to 5 teacher to student ratio. So
Well,
that's-
not all teachers, but staff, but yeah. Yeah.
Right. Questions over
It's
there?
about 1 to 8.
Mr. Bruce, just as a reminder, just to go back to Ms. Sadler's question, we used to have elementary school, summer school at every school.
building, yeah.
So 550 is a very low number. So if we really were doing it back like we had before, it would be probably double 550, just as a reminder of what we had done in the past. Yeah.
Do you want to go with your second one? Yeah.
So my second question is more of an apology because I don't understand the elementary school chart. And if you could just tell me on it's actually in the CSDA summer program, the sort of overlay document, and it's the one that has the pink on the top and the blue on the bottom. And I apologize for not understanding it, but what does the summer school progress as identified in iRead, what is the blue and what is the pink? Or red and blue, what you have up there? I have pink on my computer.
It's pre and post.
So the blue would be the level at which the students tested when they came in. So that would be their pre-assessment data. And then the red shows the level of growth for each grade level. And so the red shows for each kindergarten,
I got it,
for each
Alicia.
grade
Okay,
level. how
great.
they went.
Like I said, I just did not understand it at all. And then the other one for grades 3, 4, and 5, so your left side shows where there would be growth as well as loss?
Right. So what happened in 5th grade is we didn't have
along the y-axis, I should say.
along
right?
the y-axis, right? So that would be their oral read and fluency. They did not have a mirrored assessment, so the pre-assessment that they did was different from the text that they used when they did the post-assessment.
So that's the post-assessment
That was the
that's on there?
post-assessment, right? So that was an assessment error. We're not necessarily sure if that necessarily denotes that they didn't make progress. We just need to improve the assessment methods.
So the sort of stark loss, this sort of quote-unquote loss for 5th grade, Alicia, might just be some weird sort of
Right.
testing thing.
Exactly, yes.
Next time, you don't have to give us a chart then if it's not the beginning and the end, but maybe just an explanation.
No,
Or
it's the beginning and the end. What
Oh.
Alicia's saying, there's the educational ease is a mirrored assessment, and that means the student gets the same level and type of text when they start the assessment and the pre-assessment as they get in the post-assessment. What we believe happened in the 5th grade, because we were using new materials, was that the pre-assessment was not as difficult as the post-assessment. So the reading level of the text that students were expected to demonstrate fluency on was much more difficult than what they took their pre-assessment on. So the recommendation, because it's such a small window of time that we're in summer school, is that instead we offer the same level and type of reading passes that we do from pre and post.
I have is there a, you know how in NWEA, as you do it, if you get something right, you then go on to the next thing? Is there a reason why that isn't the kind of testing you're doing in the elementary summer schools? So that, I guess my question is, because that would allow you, if you've stopped the loss, they wouldn't go on to the next page once it's too hard and they get it wrong. Do you know what I sort of
So
asking?
the challenge we had was we only adopted new resources for K-1-2 in the elementary ELA programming, and so the resources that we used for 3-4-5, we didn't have assessments that were the same as the elementary. So the closest resource that we could, or assessment that we could use to measure progress would be fluency based on the standards that we were focused on. And so as we move forward with all the pieces, then we should be able to do that. So it's not, the fluency measure is truly a pre and a post. It's not a responsive assessment.
Ms. Lang.
I just have a question. Has there been metrics from the NWEA, I know they're just recent out, from the students that went to summer school that they didn't lose anything from their NWEAs this fall? Because we do know that that's when a lot of the regression happens. So I was wondering if you have been able to collect the data from those summer school days.
We do have that information. We don't have it right here with us, but we can get that information for you.
Actually,
we can get reading, but not.
What she's speaking about is our NWA assessments fall compared to how the students left, right, Jen? So what has to happen, that has to be done by our statistician.
Yeah, but we can get it. We can provide it.
So what he's going to do is he's going to take, he already has the rosters from elementary summer school, and he'll create a control group of students who are of like students who did not attend summer school, and then compare how those students did in the spring and the fall, and we'll have that information. So we should be able to do that for elementary and middle school to be able to provide the information to see if we stagnated any summer loss.
Great, thank you.
You guys over there, good? Okay, anybody else for elementary? I do have a question. So you're asking for quite a bit more money. I mean, obviously the full day is important. I guess that's most of just about all the money. Okay, so I was going to say, how would you prioritize your requests, but it's all full day, right? And you guys didn't mention transportation. Transportation was good for you guys?
We wanted to increase the access points to remove any possible barriers. There were some parents that reported they had transportation difficulties because we picked up from homeschools. We did make some accommodations, but increasing would probably increase enrollment and registration.
Some more stops than just homeschools?
Yes.
Okay, and that wouldn't add extra cost?
No, because that's why we were under budget, is we reduced the number of access points this year as compared to last year. So between that and the number of staff that we weren't able to secure, that's where the difference in budget versus expenditures came up. So we should be okay to cover our transportation costs.
So what you're saying is that was under budget, and if we go back to more access points, we'll just be on budget around transportation. Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Wait,
Ms.
I have a quick question. I know that you're expanding for full day. Was there a relationship between the Boys and Girls Club that the schools were going to do the academics in the morning and then the students were going to go to a Boys and Girls Club or another facility in the afternoon? Am I remembering something or not?
Boys and Girls Club is through our 21st Century Grant, which requires full participation, so students weren't able to go to our summer school program and then go to Boys and Girls Club. Traditionally, the YMCA will do that in their summer program offering, but because we were off-site for the program, we didn't feel like transporting them back would be beneficial, and the Y actually did an academic and camp-based summer program this year to accommodate the students who stayed on site with them. So that also impacted attendance. If I could choose a YMCA program or Boys and Girls Club program that was full day versus a half-day summer school program, I was going to be a family that signed up for the longer day option.
You said, Jen?
I just wanted to pipe up on that and say I think it would be very important for next year to try to partner with some external agency that can offer that extended day for these families.
You mean, so if they're trying to go to full day, you're saying if we don't go to full day, they should have a partner, or if they...
Incorrect. They're trying to go to full academic day, like the 9:30 to 3:30 or 8:30 to 3:30, and I'm saying, if possible, it would be great to partner with an extended partner who can get you through the 5:30 for working parents.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, is everybody set on? Okay, and we need more time. 15 minutes, is that enough, or? Okay, let's make a motion to extend by 15 minutes. Ms. Roach, second by Ms. Adler. All those in favor? Okay, that's Roach, Lang, Savage, Adler, and Bruce. Opposed? Abstaining? Smith and Brandon. Wait, did you change? You're abstaining? Pardon me? You're...
Yes, I'm voting yes for more time. I was just...
Okay, gotcha.
You counted me already.
Let's move on to middle school questions. We can start with Jen's question.
Hi, how many people were targeted for middle school versus how many people attended?
So we were budgeted for 205 students across all buildings, including fifth graders moving on to sixth grade. No, I'm sorry, sixth grade moving on to seventh grade in the elementary buildings, as well as ALC and all the middle schools. We reached out to all the guidance counselors at the beginning of June. They came back with 220 students, and that was without any elementary input at that point. It was North Albany, West Hill, Myers, and Hackett. We were also getting phone calls from out-of-district parents asking when our registration was, and we expressed to them that we already appeared to be full, to certainly come to registration, but their child may be put on a waiting list. Right before registration, the numbers dropped significantly to approximately 180, and we had very few that did not come that were required to, because the guidance counselors in this district are phenomenal, and they hunted down parents. They went to homes, they had papers signed, and it was remarkable. So we ended up with, I believe the enrollment was 172.
One thing that we did want to piggyback on, this is what we forgot earlier, and we're coming back to it, is that we did want to start, I don't know if warning is the right word, but letting students know that they were in jeopardy of going to summer school after the second quarter, so that we had more preliminary numbers and students could earn their way out of the summer program, so that we had less of a surprise at the end of the school year. So to let them know at the half-year point that they were in danger of attending the summer program, and then maybe that would be the impetus for them to then pick up the pace a little bit.
But isn't the summer program an opportunity?
It's not even that they know it is, they just feel it is. You know, I would tell them, you guys have 3 hours. There's other kids in school longer than you. Enjoy it and then go home. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but yes.
Okay, Ms. Roach?
I had a follow-up question on that. I wanted to ask, was middle school only provided to those students to whom it was mandated then, or
Yes.
there was no optional?
No.
Okay.
And that's only because of our numbers.
Understood. So the numbers about the numbers of students the metrics about the numbers of students failing classes refers to the numbers of students who are failing the class after.
After summer school.
So everyone at the beginning was failing at least 3 classes.
Correct.
Okay, thanks very much.
And there's Dr. Brandon's budgetary question. Is your expansion of your budget relative to the actual expenditure or the budget from last summer?
The exact actual expenditures, so it's
Okay,
an
actual
increase from the actual.
Okay. And did you want to add to that at all?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. Any other middle school questions? Ms. Sadler?
First, I feel remiss for not thanking you personally like everybody else did, but I thought the clapping in the middle did the trick. So thank you. For those who've been here before, you know we've often talked about the difficulty in summer school presentations, and just thank you for making our jobs easier. The question about middle school has to do with the mandated failing classes student. Since I know in the elementary level we've talked about actually not remediation, but also, or advancement, but also stop loss. It seems, even as a layperson, that it would make sense that for middle schoolers, that there's a group of middle schoolers that could be identified for whom there is also a concern about loss over the summer without some sort of intervention. So while I really appreciate the small numbers of dollars that you're seeking for next year for the budget, I'm wondering if when you figure out the numbers that you're looking at, you might take into account not just the kids who are failing, but the kids who are sort of on the edge, in those what we call the level 2 sort of edge, because maybe the guidance counselors can help figure out those for whom there's that there could get greater growth once they come back in September if we're able to stem the loss in the summer, because I would like to see the numbers increase. And the reason I say that is, it's not that I think more kids are failing, it's just being in the district as long as I have, 205 or 220 still sounds like a small number. Not maybe the others aren't failing, but 220 kids out of all of our middle schoolers seems like a small number of kids who could use summer school programming from us. And I wonder if you could kind of, in some sense, look at that. So, I mean, if you think about our 2 big middle schools, and even adding in North Albany, I mean, I remember serving breakfast at the honor rolls, and then I know what happens when we get to the high school. So again, you guys are wonderful, but maybe go bigger, even just slightly bigger, because what you do does work. And again, if let's say it works, so we talk 60%, not the 80% when you're looking at the numbers. A bigger pool, 60% is more students in raw numbers. So that's just my suggestion.
I'm going to just add to that, because what Ms. Biat is talking about with the project-based learning would allow for that to go. But right now, if you fail 2 or 3 core classes, you're in summer school. If you fail social studies and science, you don't actually do social studies and science, you're doing ELA and math. So by doing the project-based learning, it's going to deal with the skill sets that you're missing, that's why you're failing. So that will be able to allow for those bubble children to be in a project-based learning. So that is going to be the emphasis that we're aiming for middle level. The numbers could go up, so.
The other really nice piece of PBL is that we use the content as a vehicle to drive the skill, and that would be something that would be really nice for our middle school students.
Right. Dr. Brandon, go ahead.
I want to go a layer deeper. This past summer, did you get all of the students that had failed 2 or more subjects? Between the 4 middle schools?
We did, and again, that's thanks to our guidance counselors. They were relentless.
That was part of that operation, to make sure that you got every student from each one of the 4, the majority of them, a greater percentage of them that had failed 2 or more, you did get them in.
Yes.
Okay.
They were knocking on doors with the papers already filled out, just saying, sign here and we're good to go.
But with those students who failed 2 or more, that's mandated that they go.
Correct.
But still some of them feel that they don't have to or they don't want to?
Some of them do not want to attend summer
Do you
school.
get any kickback from parents, or you do?
Yes.
That they,
Yes, we had a few students this summer whose parents were upset. They had planned family vacations. Their students were either going to be retained, basically, or they had to make choices that they were uncomfortable with. Students who were to go on church retreats and that sort of thing. And then our attendance policy is pretty stringent, so there were some upset parents, yes.
okay, just curious about that. Thank you, dear.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
And we may, I remember this was brought up at a previous presentation. And I don't know which of you said this, but the use of using the holidays, the breaks, as an opportunity to have more students, work on their skill sets. Was that the middle school? Yeah. And so, and I know Ms. Wilson Turner, we talked about that at another meeting, but I really would like to know or have us get to talking about what the plans are for doing that. And I think that there's something else we have to do. We have to try to, along with changing a lot of different types of things, that elements of our culture, I think this is one of them, where we have to really speak about the value of education and the importance of education, and trying to really tap into what excites kids, making this meaningful for parents as well. And I do think project-based learning is one of those ways, and making use of the time where they're on breaks and not engaged, because they're on the street, we know that, there's, and it's hard to get childcare. I remember that too. I'd juggle my time to be home. And so I just want us to use that time and make it exciting and engaging. Learning, but you don't know you're learning kinds of work, right? Okay, so I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Ms. Roach?
One sort of quick follow-up question is, the alternative to attending summer school then for the student who's failing 3 or more courses, would that be automatically grade retention then?
I think it's based on principal recommendation.
Thanks.
So I wanted to talk about the social emotional needs of the middle schoolers, and what kind of needs were needed or met, or where you went there, because a lot of the reasons you fail academically is stresses. And second, I have a yes or no question. Did they receive CDTA bus passes to come?
We actually had one yellow bus originally to stop at Sheridan, North Albany, and Schuyler Achievement Academy for students who were closer to those schools. All other students who were 1.5 miles away from Myers received a CDTA bus pass. We had a hall monitor on the yellow bus. We had a lot of students, and transportation assisted us with getting a second bus for that. And it actually ended up working out better because the bus was just overpacked.
Some of the things that we did this summer to promote pro-social behavior were, when we were able to see in the beginning that we were being inundated with discipline, we created a streamlined system where we had kind of like a triage. When students were sent out with a referral, they first went to the hall monitors. There were 2 categories of infraction. The hall monitors would either then send them to a homeschool coordinator who would counsel them, have them fill out a reflection, and send them back to class, or they would send them to us for a little bit further counseling. And we were able to see by the end of the summer that there were some students that we were working with. We were manning them with the vocabulary and the things that they would do in the future should they be in the same situation. And we were able to see some turnaround in some kids by the end of the summer. But the pro-social piece that comes right out of this piece of research by Terzian, Moore, and Hamilton, effective and promising summer learning programs and approaches for economically disadvantaged children and youth, it speaks to exactly what should be in that social learning piece. Strategies to improve social problem solving. In the common planning teams that I am facilitating at the high school, that is one of the skills that we're still targeting there, is that problem solving. And if we could start with that in middle school, especially for our students who are struggling, we could be carrying that through and promoting larger gains. Promoting character development, life skills, fostering pro-social relationships with peers, and then further teaching social and cognitive skills, life skills, and character development. And they mentioned some curriculums that involved all those things that would be worth looking into.
Were there any mentoring opportunities in summer school or middle school for these children?
We didn't this year, but again, that was mentioned in this article, fostering community partnerships and relationships. We were hoping to do a piece of that through those college visits. That would be a place to start with mentoring and perhaps seeing if we could start with college student mentors. In addition, we know that Myers has community partners. I see their stuff on sale at Cardona's all the time. And there are a lot of people in the neighborhood who would probably be willing to help out and help us out with some mentoring relationships.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned acceleration versus remediation. So if someone needs remediation, how do you then shift them to acceleration?
So we would have AIS still push in or pull out services for our Tier 3 and Tier 2 students. But remediation or acceleration versus remediation is not going back and facilitating all the skills that students don't have. Instead, what it is it's looking at our standards, where students should be, and instead of backpedaling, it's creating the scaffolds that'll help students to reach that. So instead of working backwards, working in their zone of proximal development and working forwards. That's what I meant by acceleration versus remediation.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to ask a budget question. You had an order of your budget. Is it ordered exactly the way you want it in terms of priority? Extra hours at the bottom, should that be at the top?
That's a really tough one. So Fridays, the reason that the extra hour was added is because Fridays is not an academic period in the classroom. It's when they would be going on those college visits, and attendance is still mandatory on Fridays. Y'all are going to be coming with us to look at colleges because that's what we do here. But the additional hour was to make up for those Fridays. So yes, that would still be necessary.
Well, so I was saying, can you prioritize your budget requests? Not necessarily now. Why don't you do that for the future? All right, thank you. So we need more time just for E&L enlisted. Anybody else have questions for middle school? Okay, so we need more time just for E&L. Does anybody have specific questions for E&L? Yes, we do. So make a motion for
10 minutes?
Okay, 10 minutes. I'll second. Okay, if you don't vote for this, you can't ask a question. Okay, so 10 minutes, Ms. Roach. I'll second it. All those in favor? Okay, it's Smith, Roach, Lang, Adler, and Bruce. Oh, did you vote for it though? Okay. And opposed is Dr. Brandon and Ms. Savage. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Roach.
I don't have any questions. I just, other than praise for the program and excitement about that program potentially being a year-round. And it's so nice to see you again, both of you, and just optimism that this can become a year-round program. And if Bethany Bump were here, thanks to her for doing that excellent article on your program this summer. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
She's coming back. You spoke too early. Okay, anybody else have any? Ms. Lang?
I was wondering if you could differentiate between the newcomers who you identified versus the E&L students, or what the metrics were for E&L students that came into the program, or were there any E&L, or how did you pull that?
E&L, the artist formerly known as ESL. You guys probably heard me say that before in the land of acronyms here in education. So that's the overall subgroup that New York State defines for our English language learners. Within that subgroup are newcomers. So all of newcomers are E&L students in a sense. So the question was, how many? I'm sorry, Jen, how many? What was the question?
I guess if a student can be an E&L student for 2 or 3 years, or you could be a newcomer student
yes,
just coming into the country, and so you could have someone that's lived here for 15 years, 20 years, but they speak a language at home, and so their English isn't strong, which are in the E&L program, and then you have the newcomers, like our refugees from Syria, and that's what I wanted to know, how this was differentiated.
Right, okay, thanks. So because the scale just is exploding right now, we actually as I said in the presentation, we actually wound up turning down many students that were our students here in Albany, but I think I heard some of the other coordinators talk about getting requests for students to come in out of district. We had many requests from other districts for their newcomers because they didn't offer any type of programming. So for us, we started thinking that maybe we could target 125 newcomers as defined by the NYSATEL intake assessment that they do. There's also a new part of CR 154 where you do an informal survey at the point of registration, where my office is now, and we have our own ENL intake coordinator to make sure that we're capturing those students. Also, some of the newcomers, there's also another acronym, SIFE, Students with Interrupted Formal Education. And the state actually, hot off the press, I believe, they just released a 10-page document. I haven't talked with Mr. Baker about this yet. 10-page document to help us identify our SIFE, Students with Interrupted Formal Education. That would be even another subcategory within newcomer. So for our purposes for summer programming, I knew that, you know, if we're just shy of 1,300 Ls right now in our district. We're averaging 80 new Ls a month right now. So roughly you could say that of our total ENL population of 1,300, right around a third of them could be categorized as a newcomer. And if you think of the continuum or scale on the NYSA-SLAT, there's 5 different levels, starting with entering, ending with commanding. Commanding means you're commanding of the English language, you're good to go. We would probably have right around 300 students that I could safely say would qualify for newcomer services. I knew that with our budget, we weren't going to be able to service all those students. And upon reflection, it's a rather modest increase to think that we're only going to be able to service, you know, going from 145 to 185. That's probably not realistic for us. I'd probably have to increase that.
So a low ENL student in 3rd grade would not go to the newcomer school. They would most likely go to a regular summer school.
Yes, if they've been in the, yes, I see you now. If they've been here since kindergarten and they've been here for 3 or 4 years, then we wouldn't necessarily target them just because we have so many students that are literally just coming into the country, right?
Jen, are you good, or do you? Ms. Roach?
No, I'm good with questions. Thanks.
All right. Bethany Bumshe gave you a compliment. You missed it, though.
Yeah, I was saying that their program this summer was excellent, and your article about it really gave it some great publicity, so thank you.
Okay, and there are the 2 questions. Jen had a question, like, I guess you just answered that though equivalently. Well, her question at the beginning around how many people were invited, I guess it doesn't matter because it was completely oversubscribed, right?
Yes, we had to turn students away.
And Dr. Brandon had the budgetary question. You want your
Yes, it's the actual
your
amount
increases
that we spent
above your
that
budget. Okay.
Right.
All right. And I just have a general question that I promised I would ask, and that's some people were concerned that it might be a stigmatizing program to provide a newcomer program. That's obviously not what I've seen, but I said I would ask the question. Is there any pushback around that?
Not at all, not from any of the metrics or even anecdotally. And Lily did an amazing job doing some parent outreach, and actually we found that not only were the English language learners kind of galvanized by the experience, I felt that the actual native Albany families and students that we interacted with in a lot of our outings, it actually was a really positive experience as well from my lens.
Right, and with the 97, 99% attendance, or whichever it was.
They didn't want to leave.
Right.
It's tough to get them home. They didn't want to go.
Right. Well, just to ask the board, any questions for anybody before we, nope. All right, great presentation.
Thank you.
It was obviously very long, but it's like night and day from the last time we heard about summer school, so thank you very much. Okay, next up is item number 10, library bond refunding. Mr. Hogan.
Yes, actually, the next subject is about an agreement that I'm going to present to you at the next board meeting for approval. The Albany Library wishes to refinance up to $26 million in bonds with DASNY that were issued in 2007. And the district, this is similar to what the district has done in recent years. We've done 2 or 3 major refinancing. The object is to save money through lower interest rates. So you may ask, why is the district involved in the library refunding bonds? I have an answer to that. The district actually computes the library tax bills. We issue the library tax levy, and we collect all tax payments for the library. The new financing agreement will require the district to remit all library tax collections directly to a financial institution designated as a trustee for the library. So historically, and this year, we collect their taxes, we remit payments directly to the library. The refinancing with DASNY, who has the original issue bonds, and new requirements of DASNY are saying we want to receive all the money directly from the source, from the school district. They will take the bond payments and then they will forward the rest to the library. So that's going to be essentially our change in our agreement. So lawyers got involved in this. What I just explained is 10 pages single-spaced at this point. And it could grow, but I think that's it. And then the other thing in this agreement, we have to make certain declarations, such as that we have the authority and power to execute and perform the obligations we're agreeing to, that we can execute and deliver in such a way it will not violate or conflict with law. The agreement also constitutes a binding obligation of the district, essentially to pay their trustee instead of them. And we have to declare that there's no litigation pending or threatened against the district that would prohibit us from levying the taxes and collecting them for them. So we will present to you for your approval at the next board meeting an agreement to that effect that's about 10 pages long.
Thank you. And so the last refinancing we did was not a full refinancing. This is going to be similar to that, in that they issued new bonds and they used the bonds to pay off the other bonds, but they didn't actually pay off the bonds all at once. So there's 2 funding streams, right? We pay, they pay.
In terms of the bonds, no, it's actually going to be much simpler than that. They're essentially calling back bonds at the 10-year mark, give or take, and they're refunding new bonds at lower interest rates. Our only role is we already levy their taxes and collect all their taxes for them. Okay. Our role is simply to continue doing that, but instead of sending them all of the tax money, we're going to send it to their trustee designee, which is a financial institution, of all taxes collected, not just the bond payments.
Right.
And then the DASNY will take the bond payments they want and forward what's left to the library.
Right. I thought we were not doing a full refunding, that we're actually refinancing, and we would have bonds that continue to exist that would be financed by lower rate bonds. So the money they save would be the differential between the 2.
Correct. The bonds we have have nothing to do. We're on a new subject, right?
No.
This has nothing to do with the library
without putting the trustee term in there. So
we don't have any special obligations in terms of a trustee.
Okay.
I think this is a new DASNY thing that they're starting to do with the library.
So my question, and let me just ask it more specifically, is that are we actually paying down and fully refunding the existing bonds, or are we creating lower interest rate bonds that offset the higher interest rate bonds, and both bonds will still be in existence?
No, we're calling back.
We're calling in
bonds,
refunding.
Refunding. Okay. Technically, it's a refunding. and then issuing new bonds, brand new bonds.
Okay. Okay, all right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions here? Bond refunding? No? Okay. All right, board member items. Does anybody have board member items?
I do not.
Well, you usually have one, so. Okay, board committee reports? None since the last. For facilities, right. No, okay. Other business items? Dr. Brandon?
Sorry. Sorry. I know you're all ready to go home, but I got a couple of things. I got a couple of things here. Okay, number one. Number one, and she's gone. She can't give me what I wanted. Candy, she's gone. Yeah, so we'll leave that. The next thing, I don't know if I want to use the word privileged or not, but Monday night I sat in on the grade configuration, and they have an observation deck, and I sat at the observation deck, and at the conclusion they wanted comments from the people in the observation deck, and I refrained from saying anything at all. I just asked, about, I don't even remember now what I had, something not significant. But the point I want to make tonight to you all is, when they went around the table, and everybody introduced themselves, I was a little disappointed because the face of that committee still does not represent the way it should. And I don't know what the problem is. I don't know whose lap it's in, but I only counted, I think, 4 parents, and 2 of them they were employed by the district, and the other 2 were not. There might have been 5, but I think I only counted 5 parents, and it was a pretty huge cast of characters. So I think we need to try to do something to get some more diversity on that committee, considering what the charge is. It's the committee that's got to work with. I was very impressed with Dr. Butterworth. Is that Butterworth? Yeah, I was impressed with Butterworth. I think the upper hand that he has over Hendrick is the fact that he's from this area and he knows the workings of this capital district. So I was very impressed with, not very impressed, but somewhat impressed with him. So anyway, but I'm really concerned about the face of that committee, though. It seems like to me something else could be done to make that committee more reflective of the district base, because this is the group that's got to get the permanent committee, the permanent middle school situation straightened out. And it just to me, it just didn't look good, and I wish I had something else to tell you to help you with it, because I know our communications department is trying everything they can to get people to come into that committee. And I don't know if it's closed or not with the people that are on it, but you might want to rethink that and try to get that thing straightened out so it looks a little better than it does. You might have to open it back up again or something. So moving right along, yeah, if you want to.
I'll be really quick. We were missing 3 parents from the meeting on Monday, and that's 3 of them are our diverse parents at the same time. So we did have some committee members that were not there, and we understand that some committee members are not going to make every single meeting. But one of the things that we were striving for was consistency of the meeting, because when you start to miss the meetings, you're missing so much information that it becomes, you can't keep going back and repeating everything.
No.
So Again, we were missing quite a few of our parents and some other members of the committee, so it was not quite reflective of the whole body, so.
So I would like to nominate a former school board member to begin in January.
You mean a soon-to-be former school board member would be an excellent member of
We
the
already
configuration.
have her.
For what?
We already have her. Thank
Oh,
you.
that's already done. You guys are late, okay? I made that very plain. In January, I will be sitting at the table, not in the observation deck on that committee, because I've been with it since the beginning, and I'm gonna hang with it. But I don't like the way. Well, let's move on because it's really time.
Okay,
for us to
yes,
go home. I
another
have
other
another one.
business item.
I got a complaint from a parent at Myers with regard to the amount of time that's being allowed for children to have breakfast in the morning. I guess they get there at 7:40, and there's 3 doors they come in, 6th grade, 7th grade, whatever.
And they go
And
down.
this parent had dropped her kid off for the 6th grade door, which didn't open up. They didn't let the kids in until like 7:45. And the other 2 doors hadn't even been open yet. And they have to be at class at 8 o'clock?
Yes.
So, I don't know, you might want to look into that.
Also,
Kids,
just breakfast, they can have breakfast all the way up until 9:45, 10 o'clock. So if you get to school late, breakfast is available, hot or cold. It's there to between 9:45 and 10 o'clock, and that's been established
so
for
they can
years.
get in between those classes and get
Yes,
something to
they
eat
can
if they're hungry?
Well, if they're hungry, we don't like them taking the classrooms because it talks about the bugs, but we actually have them go down and eat right in the cafeteria. So if a child is really that hungry and got there late, they get a pass to go down. The other part of it is breakfast is supposed to be a 10-minute window. We've never had a 10-minute window. We start breakfast around 4:15, and we get them in there, and they're still eating when the 8 o'clock bell goes off, and we start scooting them up out of there. Usually by 8:05, 8:10, they're clearly out, and if you get in there after that, you still get in there, but we just ask that you have a pass from your classroom.
Okay, this parent kind of thought that you need to rethink it to 7:30 to give them plenty of time. Now, I don't know how you're going to do that, but that's what they
Listen,
said.
they do not need any more time to eat.
I told them I would bring it to you.
Yeah. Okay.
And the last thing, is, well, I'll save that and talk to you about it. I'm done.
Okay, any other business? Ms. Lang? Nope. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, everybody moves to adjourn, and everybody can second, and all in favor. All right, thank you. Back to 20.
Yeah.